All right, guys. I'm here tonight with Dan Simmons.
Hey,
How's it going, Dan?
good man. You?
Pretty good, man. You're in Queensland, yeah?
No, Melbourne in
Melbourne.
lockdown. Yeah,
Oh, fuck.
used to
Straight
be
off the bat,
Queensland.
I'm wrong. That's good.
I used to be Queensland. Back in 2012, I lived in Queensland for 12 years. So, I only left about 7, 8 years ago.
Ah, shit. I mean,
Hmm.
that's always interesting too. Like, whenever I meet someone that lived somewhere else first, I already know that they're going to be more interesting than potentially interesting than someone who's lived in the same place forever.
I've moved a lot.
Yeah, well, people that move a lot tend to have like, it's not so much baggage, but they've got experiences.
Yeah, they've done some stuff for sure. I've been in Adelaide, was where I originally was born.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I've lived in Darwin.
Holy
Which
shit.
was pretty cool. I actually really liked it up there, and work took me up there and family, and now Melbourne, which was just an adventure to try and chase the art scene and start my business, which was born and thread.
Well, dude, like I've always wanted to move to Melbourne.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things where I think I've been to Melbourne every year of my life
Hmm.
as just like uh get out of Sydney kind of thing. Might as well drop in and check out Melbourne, go drinking because it's like, you
Big
know,
theme for that.
well, dude, like at that time, especially like 10 years ago in Sydney, pubs were always on a corner,
Yeah.
and that it was always like an old pub, you
Mm.
know, with stinky, damp carpet and pokey
The
machines,
villas.
and y-
Yeah.
like there was nothing. There was nothing cool. Like you go to Melbourne and there's like three pubs on a block, and
Yeah.
there's like couches and you know, you end up like you start with a group of people on the night and you end up completely split up.
I know
Everyone's in a
exactly what you
different pub at the end of the night,
mean.
calling your mates, going, "Where the fuck are you? Oh fuck, I'm over here."
Yeah, yeah, I've done that a few times in Melbourne. Yeah, I
It's
actually
so good.
I had a friend move here from Darwin, that I knew from back then, and I was already back in Brisbane.
Okay.
He was the one that was like, "Hey, your lease is coming up. Move to Melbourne. You'll love it here." And I was like, "Yeah, I've
Yeah.
been there for a few trips. Let's do this." And
Dude, it's
moved
just
here, and it was the best thing I ever did.
yeah, but it's like I think a lot of people just think, oh, the weather's shit in Melbourne, and it's like unpredictable or
Yeah,
whatever,
for
but
sure.
like it suits the it suits the artistic kind of person
Got
in
the
that,
movement
like,
vibe going on. It's good.
yeah, right. And I also find that there's so much government backed art there.
It was the one thing that blew my mind. Living in Brisbane for 12 years, I don't know whether I just didn't take advantage of it or didn't hang around the same people that were into it, but
Mm.
I came to Melbourne and there was an event on every weekend. There's Melbourne International Film Festival.
Dude, it's chockers, right?
Yeah, the comedy festivals here. You've got so many things happening throughout the year. You just come in and there's some random festival on in Fed Square, like some food festival or some
100%.
appreciation of like Asian culture or something going on. And
Yeah.
like every time I used to go into the city, I was like, man, there's something going on. It was the best.
Yeah,
So,
and it's also like there's also so much respect for art there. It's
yeah.
like there's artwork on the street
Oh yeah,
and
goes your lane.
it's
Yeah.
not being stolen, it's not being defaced, it's not being graffitied. It's just everyone just has respect for it.
Yeah, it's like an identifier of this city. I think is its art and music and kind of street culture. It's got a European vibe with late night dining. I noticed. Like I moved here from Brisbane
Mm.
and living in Brisbane, like finishing work on a Sunday and being like, "Crap, I've got an hour to get to the shops before Woolies closes or something," you know.
Yeah.
And then moving to Melbourne and they're being like, "Oh man, they used to be open 24 hours. Now they're only open till midnight." I'm like, "What?" Like tripping balls being like, "That's awesome." So yeah, it's different vibe here for sure.
100%, man. I just think it's one of those places where I've always wanted to move, but something something's stopping me, and I think it's almost because I have such a good time there every time
Yeah.
that I feel like if I move there, I might ruin it.
I thought the same thing. And
Ah.
yeah, I'm not trying to sell you on. I'm not trying to sell you on. Sydney's a
Yeah.
cool place. It's somewhere I've been a few times, but
Oh,
I mean,
Sydney's not cool, man.
no, I mean, I've been there for a few work trips and a few personal trips, and I always had fun there. But I didn't vibe on the how it wasn't a planned city. It's terrible to get around. Like
Ah, those people are so angry here.
Yeah, true. Okay. Yeah, no, that's a good
You know, you mentioned like there's always something on in Melbourne, right?
one.
The problem with Sydney is just say there is like a night noodle market or something,
Yeah.
right? The problem is it's sold out before you even think about going. Or
Yeah,
and if you
right.
do go, there's like a 40-minute queue to get some noodles from a shop that set up a tent there. And you could just go down to the actual store itself and
So
get
what
it in 10
makes that
minutes.
happen?
So it's almost like Sydney's this thing when there's a festival on or when there's an event, some sort of cool public event on,
Hmm.
too many people end up going to it and it just isn't fun.
How does what's the is it a population base? Because like Melbourne's a pretty big city. Like,
Maybe because there's so much arty stuff going on
hmm,
that you
people
can't, you
disperse.
guys don't have everybody at the one event.
That's probably a fair point. Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense.
You know, and the marketing is probably the budget is smaller, so it's not
Yeah,
like there's this one thing on the television, radio, newspaper
yeah,
telling all
true.
Sydney siders this is on this weekend,
Check it
bring your
out.
family and friends, and then bam,
And up for
it's
an hour.
yeah. So
Yeah,
it's
right.
it's a strange thing where um and the art scene here is a little bit different too. I think a whole lot of people probably do go to the Museum of Contemporary Art. I mean, it's still free most of the time, but then they go and they see, you know, they see something they don't understand, and they're like, "I could do better than that."
Uh, yeah, well, art's interpretation all the time, but doesn't mean that you can necessarily do better. Yeah,
Like
true.
the MCA is constantly sponsored by big corporates, you know, like it's
Yep.
sponsored by Audi or something, and
Hmm.
um it doesn't work, man. It's like, you know, like I don't look at a person driving down the street in an Audi, which is like every third car's an Audi here,
Yeah,
and I don't look at them and think they appreciate art.
yeah, true.
You know?
Okay. Yeah, they're just seeing
So
it as the right demographic to hit, but not necessarily really the true art, or maybe not true art. I'm not even going to go into that, but like
yeah,
artists
but
that appreciate it probably aren't
well
into the
well
hours.
well dude, like the art the true artists that are, you know, still trying to somehow rent a house in Redfern or something and share
Right.
it with five students, like
Mhm.
it's becoming impossible, right? Because no one's going to rent an inner city terrace house to students. They're just going to party and fuck it up. You know, so it's
Yeah,
nearly impossible now. It's like,
yeah.
um, they're even the goths and stuff, they're just not around anymore, you know, like
Mm,
people are all in Sydney, people pretty much just wear like if you're a guy you wear some cool sneakers,
yeah,
skinny jeans and a t-shirt, and you
that's
know,
okay.
like you're not expressing your artistic self at all. You're just kind of like, oh fuck, if I go down the street in like stockings and heels for the fun of it, I'll probably have too much negative attention, and you
Really?
know, yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
it's a bit sameish, and people have tried to fit in a bit, I think.
okay. Well, yeah, maybe that's a culture thing because Melbourne definitely, for me, feels like it's very accepting. Like my first like 5 years here, I just lived in the city doing stuff with friends every weekend, weeknights, etc. And
Yeah,
I just I can't imagine an uptight community in Melbourne. It was so welcoming. Like just going to a random bar and like
it's
you meet
so
your
cool to
friends. Just
walk all
yeah,
over it. Hey, it's
yeah, and
like
the random alleys you find
random,
random things like,
yeah.
man, I had no idea this was here. This is awesome.
It's not like Sydney CBD, which is like it really is that kind of business culture. And
Mm,
at I mean, it's getting better. Like we have so many more bars now in Sydney that aren't on the corner,
nice.
and they've got concepts and they're really cool.
Mm,
But still, the overall vibe of the city is pretty heavy. It's this like it's shut. It has a shut vibe
mm.
about it.
Brisbane was like that. Yeah, you go out on a Friday night, and there was like you've got the valley and the city, and the valley was kind of the go-to back in the day. And
Hmm.
um, Yeah, I mean, if you went into the CBD of Brisbane, there was not a lot going on unless you're going to the casino. So,
I've been to Brisbane a few times, and
hmm.
there's a lot of graffiti there actually.
Yeah, there's a big
Like you
scene
just
here.
catch a train, and it's like, fuck, there's graffiti everywhere.
Yeah,
Sort of
yeah,
says something, doesn't it? Like it's
yeah,
really small town, but like there's a shit ton of people that are like out
yeah.
there and
Shoot up
making
the culture.
getting their message out.
Yeah.
Um, One thing about Melbourne I've noticed over the years though is the car scene there is like it's not on show on the street. Like you
Mm.
go out all day long and you hardly see anything
Yeah.
that's highly modified. It's like the coppers there must be pretty tough on modified cars.
I find the opposite. I
Really?
Yeah. So I find it opposite about the attitude of the police. When I
Okay.
moved here, I didn't know where the car scene was, which kind of blew me away because Brisbane had a lot of stuff going on. Like downshift was a big thing back when I lived in Brisbane. They were
Yeah.
always doing meets just down the road from me. There was obviously the coast cruise. You go to the Gold Coast, to the Spit, every kind of used to do that Saturday nights, and Harry's Diner on a Friday night, which was in Newmarket. So
Okay.
I had like a whole, and Thursday night was Aspley Macca's, which is North Brisbane. So I had a whole like Thursday, Friday, Saturday scene with whatever car I'd built at the time. Go and
It's
check
mad.
it out. Yeah. And then I moved to Melbourne. I was like, where's the car scene at? Like there was, like you said, there was nothing rolling around on the street in general. You're just like, it's not like nobody's chucking fat laps around the city. Like
Nah.
these cars. And then it took me a little while to kind of find my scene and meet
Mm.
people that do stuff with cars and join some groups.
Yep.
And yeah, well, before COVID, earlier
Yeah.
this year, there
Yeah.
was stuff going on quite a bit. Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool, man. Like I think from the back in the day of running JDMST and stuff, we always had a hard time trying to rally more than 10, 15 cars. It was just so
Really?
difficult. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, in Sydney, it's not hard to get a few thousand cars to a meet every month, but you
Yeah.
go to Melbourne, it's just like just a couple of dudes.
Yeah. Well,
So
Downshift was doing a lot of meets here in Melbourne, which don't necessarily have a bad rep, but not really a good one either, because they were doing it at a drive-in that's all gravel. So you
mhm,
get one guy that rocks up in his mum's Lancer that thinks it's cool to like chuck a
do a
handbrake,
do a
straight
burnout or
gravel,
something.
a whole
Yeah.
bunch of really nice cars, and then those cars don't come next time, and you're just like, yeah, fair enough.
That's the
So
scene, man. It only takes
yeah,
a couple of rotten eggs.
that's it. That's it. But I mean, yeah, there's some cool stuff to check out here as well. But it's definitely not the Brisbane scene I was used to. But yeah,
Yeah.
mm.
Yeah. So your ride, that's like the main banner on your Facebook page.
Yeah, the Datsun.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the Datto.
yeah,
So it's a 200B wagon,
yep,
and the reason why that resonates with me is my dad had a 200B SX when I was a kid.
really, yeah.
Yeah, he bought it brand new from Datsun from a dealership, and it was
White
white and
or
I had the
blue?
stripes,
Yes.
and I've got a couple of photos of him taking me to Centennial Park, and like I'm sticking my head out the window and stuff. So,
That's awesome. I had
dude,
no
it's
idea. That's cool.
so yeah. So when I saw that, I'm just like, fuck yeah, that's it's obviously a rare car.
Yeah, yeah. I had a 200B wagon as my first car ever when I was like 17. I was actually
Shit.
Yeah, I was meant to get a Mitsubishi Magna, little crappy car that my mum was going to give me, and my stepdad sold it. And
Whatever happened to Magnas, eh? It's like
I
every
know.
single Magna just fell off the planet.
Yeah, it was a late 80s Magna, piece of crap. And I was like chuffed that I was going to have my first car. And about 6 months before I was supposed to get it, I think my stepdad sold it. He was like, nah, that car's going. And I was like, oh, great. Now I'm not going to get a car. And I wasn't vibing with my stepdad, like I was
Yeah.
a kid that was
Okay.
pushing back against this guy that do typical
It's
kind of
classic.
angsty teenager.
It's
And
like
my
fucking
mum,
Eminem vibes, man.
yeah, I needed a hug and someone to tell me it was going to be all right. But
Yeah.
my mum stuck it to my stepdad and was like, no, you have to give him a car because he sold his car. So he had this silver Datsun that he'd rebuilt over 3 years.
Oh shit.
Two cars. That was really tidy, super clean. And he was dead. He was like, really? And my mum was like, hard ass, like, yep, you got to give him that car. And so that was my first car. And I grew up in the Adelaide Hills. So I just drove that thing on dirt roads sideways 24/7.
That's so awesome.
And yeah, that was it for me. I was hooked. And that was, I haven't had a Datsun since then. So,
I like that, man. Like I'm not like I don't want to come across as a fucking hater or nothing, but I don't really like it when I meet like or see someone who's just gotten their license
Yeah.
and they're driving around in like um, 200B or a TA22 Celica or something, and they're just like fucking it up, man. They're like putting
Yeah.
fucking huge wheels on it. They're mangling the guards, and they're like
Yeah.
putting zip ties everywhere. And it's
Yeah.
like, I'm kind of like, dude, like, you
Yeah.
kind of got to earn that.
100%. Yeah, my first car, all I did, that silver wagon, all I did was put dragway splats on it, which is like these four-spoke chromies that look shit house.
That's where you start, right?
But that was all I knew. I was like, these are awesome. I brought them with my part-time job. I worked at a place in Harndorf, which is a little town in Adelaide Hills. Just basically, it was a bakery called Otto's Bakery, and I was just this old German lady's bitch where I just sweat whatever she told me to do.
But that's
But
where you start, right? Like, I
yeah,
think you start and in like, putting a fucking exhaust tip on your
yeah,
muffler or something, or
because on the back window and being like, yeah, this is the best.
right, or
Yeah,
I remember my mates like making subwoofers out of shitty MDF and like buying a speaker from Dick Smith and like
yeah.
it sat in the back seat and it wasn't mounted down or anything and wires are hanging out and
Yep. All my friends were obsessed with 6x9s. We're all trying to get the most bass out of $70 or $150 Pioneer speakers or whatever we could get at the time. And we were just, yeah, everybody had their own method. Like I was always packing like Dacron, like that plastic lining that's inside like cushions, outdoor cushions. And I pack it in the door, put my 6x9s in there and be like, yeah, that's going to doof hard. Like we were just making do with nearly no cash, you know? So,
Yeah, it's like grassroots
yeah.
kind of like I think even in the sort of early 2000s and stuff, you still had these, guys who were working at Macca's a few times a week and they would pour every single dollar in Macca's to get like some kind of bonnet vent or get
And
some flames painted on the side of the car and
yeah,
like or even just like paint your wheels the same color as your car or something or you know
auto salon was so big back then. Like I
oh
worked
I
at
would have
JB
salon.
Hi-Fi in the early 2000s, and they were a sponsor of auto salon. So I worked in car audio because that's for me when I was younger. I dreamed of working in car audio, being like, man, I love stereo stuff. That'd be mad,
God, that was popular. Hey,
wasn't
car
it?
audio was
Oh,
fuck, there were so many shops
yep,
and
100%.
too many speakers and too many
Yeah,
head units to choose from.
yep. Every brand had like 20 or 30 head unit options. You know, like it was mental.
It
So
was
yeah,
such a thing, wasn't it? Until it's almost like what's happened to exhaust shops and
hmm,
audio in that like a lot of the cars today have such specialized interiors that you can't fit certain speakers in the doors and
yeah,
you can't change the head unit
for sure.
easily. And
Yep.
same with the exhaust, like there's triangular exhaust and it's just getting to a point where it's almost like the manufacturers have taken over
Yep,
and
definitely.
they've just gone, okay, we're gonna scrap the. It's almost like when you build a house. Like once upon a time, you had a standard size garage door,
Yep.
standard size windows, standard size doors, and now they're like, fuck it, And it's like it's weird. It's like it was such an industry, but then the industry decided to
Oh,
destroy it.
yeah, I did it for like probably 6, 7 years at JB Hi-Fi and built up like a following of customers where if I changed stores in Brisbane, like a heap of them would follow me because they, we used to building systems with me,
Yeah.
and I loved it. And that whole car scene was so fun, like going to auto salon, seeing mental cars that had stupid money sponsored by Sony, and like what were the dudes in Sydney, Smash Street? I can't remember their name, but they always had crazy BMWs. They're a panel
Dude, the
anyway.
Osman guys, and they all built
Yes.
like crazy shit
Yeah.
with like one steering wheel in the center. And
That's it. The WRXs and stuff just full of Sony Explode speakers, which were terrible speakers, but they were sponsored, so they were just everywhere in
dude, that whole sex spec scene was, as in my opinion, a lot of it was bad taste, but fuck, it was still creative
there.
and
It
it was
was
still expression,
100%. Yeah.
and
A lot of those cars didn't grab me personally, but I could respect the fact that like tens of thousands of dollars in
Yeah.
creative problem solving and just cool ideas that you're like, I've never seen that before. That's really neat,
Well,
like
it wasn't less is more. It
no,
was more is more.
yeah, more screens, 7-inch monitors everywhere. Like,
Monitors in the wheels and
yeah,
shit.
yeah, I remember thinking that.
Monitors in headlights and
Yep,
stuff, and
yep,
it
yep.
just got crazy. Like I think like my mates used to run auto salons, so
Oh, really? Wow.
yeah. So good friends of mine used to run it, and they ran it till the very end, man. And
Yeah.
I think my mission when I first started going to auto salons was like, fuck, these guys need to be introduced to some JDM culture,
Oh,
you know.
yeah.
So my thing was like, fuck, like a few of my mates started entering their cars, and they were like, a DC2 Integra with a JDM front,
Yep.
and yeah, it was different, man, because like it was more of the less is more,
Hmm.
and over time it just really started to happen. Like I think more and more there were some hero JDM rides that were at the shows, and people
Yep.
started to appreciate it.
For sure.
Um, they're not as flash, but you know, a lot of JDM culture got to wide bodies and deep dish rims, and
Well,
it's pretty showy at the same time.
yeah, like I remember one of the last years I went. I don't remember which year it was, but it was one of the last shows before it kind of died. But
Mm.
there was this. There's so many cars at Auto Salon that I remember over the years, but this one stood out the most. It was just a super beautifully straight, clean 180 with like
Yeah,
a really nice kit. It was this gunmetal grey, had a beautiful tan leather interior that wasn't sex spec. It was just
yeah,
really tidy.
just really nicely done. Yeah,
Yeah, really classily done, and it
mm.
really appealed to me. It was my kind of scene, and
Yeah,
I got talking to the owner. He was like, "Yeah, man, I've had it for 2 years. Like, put about 20 grand into it." And he was telling me all the engine mods he'd done, and I was just like, kudos to you for bringing that here, because it's like you're the only car here that's like not covered in stickers and ridiculous speakers, and
that's what I mean. I think I was always fighting that battle. Like the whole form follows function was what
yep,
I was pushing really hard, and
mm,
trying to get people out on the racetrack, and then getting a car to look absolutely menacing, but not because of shit you add to it, but because it's actually amazing on the
strong,
racetrack. And
built really nice. Yeah,
yeah, and it's wide for a reason, and it has
mm,
camber for a reason, and but then the stance scene took off, and like, holy fuck, man, like shit just went mental
uh,
again. It
yeah.
was like sex spec version 2.
I love that scene though. I really got into that. I didn't own anything in that scene, but I really appreciated it, man. Like, yeah.
Yeah, man, it's you got to admit, it's how like if I was a car designer, I'm
Hmm.
not gonna draw a car with like 14-inch wheels with like fat rubber. I'm gonna draw the wheel as fucking big as I can
Yeah.
on this
Tucking
drawing,
it up. Yeah.
So I almost feel like it's gotten there now. Like I have a friend that just bought a brand new Audi TT, and it has 20-inch rims on it, and the rubber is so thin. I'm
Really?
like, that's pretty much how the artist might have drawn the car.
Yeah, they're getting pretty close to concepts now, aren't they? It seems like.
20-inch rims on a small car with
Yeah.
thin rubber. It's like,
30
you
or 40
know,
profile tires, just really
yeah.
tight. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's getting there. Like if like my R32 GTR came out when it first came out from factory, it had 16-inch wheels on it.
Oh man.
Like 16-inch
Yeah.
wheels, some just clears the brakes, and it's like we know that's under engineered, but
Yeah.
at the time, it's
Yeah.
just how it was.
Standard. Yeah.
Like
Yeah. That's a hero car, man. Your car is like a famous car, for sure.
fuck. It's really interesting, man. It doesn't take much to do that to an R32. It's just a whole lot of restraint. Like it's
Mhm.
easy to just fuck one up with some
Crazy
whack
details.
wheels, or
Yeah.
stance it up, or put some crazy body kit on it and stuff. But I think I just managed to show so much restraint. Like same thing with the Autosalon days. It's kind of like it's almost harder to do that.
Yeah.
It's almost harder to like not go overboard.
That's why
And
that guy's 180 stood out, because it was just such a clean, classic, like JDM car at this meet that had nothing like that. It was
yeah,
awesome. Yeah. No,
yeah.
I see. I got obsessed with GDRs because my brother, who's 6 years younger than me,
Mm.
decided that he got an R33 GTST
Okay.
and wrecked it. It was super low when he got it, had a really nice kit on it, and he just kept hitting like hitting driveways and gutters with it because it was too low and he didn't know how to drive a lowered car. And I tried to show him and he was like, no, I got it. And then like a week later, I see the car and the front bars all cracked and mangled. And I'm like, oh, dude. And
Yeah.
he did his time and learned how to own a car that was low, that looked cool.
Yeah.
And all right, I'm going to sell that. And then he found this 33 GDR V-Spec Series 2 that was in Sydney. It was actually in Newcastle.
Mm.
And he was kind of like, it's 22 grand. I've got the money. This guy's selling it because he's an importer. And he lost all his money in the global financial crisis.
Okay.
So he had a whole collection of cars that was his personal collection. He just started selling them all off to get bank.
Mm.
And I said to him, let's go. He's like, what do you mean? Because he didn't know whether he wanted to buy it or not. He was going to buy it sight unseen.
Yeah.
I said, it's a 10-hour drive. Let's go. Let's drive right now. He goes, all right. So 3 a.m. in the morning, we got up.
That's awesome.
We macked it to Newcastle. We got there by like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Saw the guy, took it for a test drive. My brother was in love with it.
Yeah.
Put a deposit down, and a couple of weeks later, it arrived on a car carrier. And that thing was, that made me obsessed with GDRs. So like,
that's so similar to my story, man. Like I had the same deal. Car importer had 2 identical gunmetal gray GTRs, and and he was in another state, and he's like, which one do you want? And I said, well, fuck, man, if they're both exactly the same, they're his personal collection. I could hear his baby crying in the background.
Yeah.
And I just said, I'll just take the one with the lower Ks.
Yeah.
And it got delivered to me, and I couldn't even drive manual at that time. I learned how to drive manual in that. So
yeah.
But yeah, I was always obsessed with them on PlayStation and Gran Turismo, and I'd done my research on them about how they got named Godzilla and Bathurst, and how they won everything in Group A racing, and just couldn't believe it. Even like the key was just ridiculous.
Yeah, it's such a cool story. The valet key as well, which is awesome.
Yeah, it's just there's so much history to the badge that it's like at some stage when I was looking at R34 GTT and stuff like that, I'm just like, I can't do it, because once you've had an R, like it just, a GTST just feels like a waste of money. That's gonna really sting a lot of people. But like, fuck, man, like you can put, like, it's just as much a bottomless pit as a GTR, a GTST, and you can spend easy 50, 100K on a GTST, but it's still not a GDR.
You're not going to get as much out of it, because driving,
it's just not it's just the badge, there's so much in the badge,
yeah. And it's just clever engineering. Like, I remember driving my brother's car one time, actually in Darwin. He had it shipped up there because he was going away to work in the mines, and I was living in Darwin. He's like, can you look after my car? And I was like, hell yeah, I can. I didn't drive it. I parked it and had a little battery charger on it, just kept an eye on it. And then every once a month, I'd take it out for a quick drive and make sure it was all good and keep everything,
Yeah, keep the fluids going. Yeah.
I started every week, but I would just take it for one drive.
Yeah.
And there was this one day where it was Darwin. It was hot, really sticky. No one's on the roads. Darwin's such a small town. There was nothing going on. So I gave it a real hard time through this back area of Darwin. And yeah, it just blew my mind how clever the engineering in that car was. Driving like 30 or 40 different cars, from Holden Kingswood's big 350 Chevs to like RX3s with a 13B Series 4 turbo in it, to like all these different styles of cars that you have to learn to drive when you own them or drive them.
Yeah.
So then getting in a GTR and being like, respect, they built a car that I could just drive to its limit. It scared me more than I could go to its limit. Like, it had grip past what I thought was capable.
Yeah.
So it was incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, I find that with my car, it's like I've had so many cars as well, like I've had, I don't know, 20, 30 cars that I've modified, and always modified to track specs. So I always took them out to the racetrack to really get to know them. And so many times I found my limit with these cars, and like get to a point where I'm just throwing my keys around to all my mates going, dude, beat a 116, come on. And in the end, like, everyone comes back and fuck, we all did 116s, whereas the GTR is like, fuck, it's bitten me in the ass. Like so many times I've come off the track and just shat my pants so hard that I would miss the next session.
Yeah.
Just take a breather and
Yeah.
calm down,
Mm.
um and I've only gotten faster and faster in it too, which is so different to every other car in that, like, man, I have not found the limit of this thing.
So much untapped potential. It sounds really wanky to say that, but it's true. They're really fun to drive. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think they have flaws, they have character, and they have you have to drive them a certain way. Um, other cars maybe you can brake not so much in a straight line or something like that, but
Yeah.
they're heavy cars, so like if
Yeah.
you lose the tail, sometimes I think like, oh fuck, I've got this, and then somehow I don't.
It loops.
Yeah, because it's just heavy, and it's like once you
Yeah.
get past a certain point,
Yeah.
and you drop off the power band, you don't have that power there to help you get out of the situation.
For sure.
So, even my mechanic was like, he used to pay me out, like, you don't know how to drive this car, haven't you seen Initial D? You're meant to like keep the revs up and like go in hotter and
Yeah.
come out so that you still got revs on. I'm like, fuck, you're gonna drive like a maniac to
Yeah.
do that. you know?
Yeah. I'm not trying to die out there. Yeah.
I'm just trying to have fun out there. I don't want to
Yeah.
fucking die, like holy shit. Like even rowing through the gears on those things is like,
Oh man.
it's old school, It's
Yeah.
and I like disabled everything. It's got no ABS and it's like it locks up and stuff. So it's cool though. I fucking
Yeah.
love it,
Definitely.
I
No,
don't think I ever need to sell it. That's the thing.
that's awesome. That's a really cool car to find that keeps you in because
Oh
you
man,
can't.
there's no reason. Like I just have this solid feeling that if I ever sold it, the money that I get from it will disappear.
Yeah.
Like that money, I'll spend it on stupid shit, and then I'll be like, "Oh, I don't have a GTR anymore,
It won't give
and I
you
don't have the
enough.
money."
Yeah. 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 That'd suck.
So I just feel like, what's the point in selling it? Like, I don't have a family and children, or I don't like have this situation where, fuck, if I really needed the money, like I'd have to sell the car, so
Mhm.
I can hold on to it.
Yeah. Well, that's probably where my brother would be hurting right now if he watches this. But
Because he sold it.
he sold it, man. He sold it. He just put carbon brakes on it and done a few things like done a whole bunch of stuff that would probably like to make it more track ready and stuff. And
Hmm. Did he track it?
no, no,
Fuck, that's bad.
there's an interesting twist to that story, but I won't go too deep into it. But
Mm.
basically, he sold the car because he was trying to pay out his debts and get ahead and had his eye on a whole different prize. And he did sell the car for like a little, I think it was under 30 grand. And he was like, okay, I made a little bit back. I didn't lose any money really.
That's fucking awesome.
And now that person that owns it now is probably worth 80 or 100. I don't know.
Yeah.
33 GDRs are up there now. But that was like
Yeah.
5-6 years ago.
Yeah.
I said to him, like, I'll buy it. Like, I didn't have the cash. I was like, I'll buy it, man. Don't sell it. Like, what do you need me to do so that this doesn't leave us? Because this car is so cool. But
Especially because you guys have a story with it as well, like actually just hopping in your car in the morning and getting there. Like that you can't really buy experiences like that,
it was the best road trip I've ever done. Like, I've done a few
Yeah.
road trips, and that was so fun because it was like this mega adventure that had this beautiful moment where I got to see my brother be like, this is the car he dreamed of in Gran Turismo and stuff like that.
Fucking hell, man. That's sad now. That's
Yeah, it
sad
is.
that like
But
but
that's the twist in the story, though. So my brother may not have researched it, and it's fine because it's not a thing that people really know. But he's really good on Gran Turismo. Like he was always a freak when he was younger. I'd put down a lap and be like, you can't beat that. There's no way. And 10 minutes later, he'd hand me back the controller and his ghost would have 2 seconds on me. I'd be like, how? I'd be so frustrated. And GT Academy came to Australia, which was Gran Turismo teaming up with Nissan to kind of say, like, if you can race in our game as a racing simulator, you can race in real world. And heaps of people probably know about all this, but my brother is the only Australian that won the competition and got a contract to drive for Nissan.
Holy shit.
He drove as a Nissan factory driver in the UK in the Blancpain Endurance Series for 2 years, and he actually raced for a team over there, RGN Motorsport. So
That's fucking sick, man. I mean, that is really a one-off kind of thing, man. Like that's like
it was
holy shit.
yeah, because the first year it came to Australia, they actually held it here in Melbourne. They had it at the Kelly Racing headquarters. So Todd and Rick Kelly from V8 Supercars, which were Nissan sponsored.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah, and he didn't make the cut. He was gutted, and the reason he didn't make the cut was in the beep test. His shoelace came undone, and he couldn't do. And he was super fit. He'd been training for like a year for this,
Holy shit.
and he was
So
gutted.
yeah, he sounds pretty legit, man. Like he's fucking into it, man.
So yeah, he didn't make it the first year, and the second year he came back with a vengeance. He quit his job. He got a job working at Australia Post as a contract deliverer, so he could work in the mornings from 4 a.m. to 1 p.m. and then work out in the Arvo and race online to hone his skills. And he went and did track days and racing, days where he basically got tutored to race on track.
Yeah, it goes such a long way when you have tutors on the track.
Oh, he made huge strides. And
yeah.
And then when Gran Turismo did the next GT Academy, which was the last year they did in Australia, before Nissan basically pulled out 2 years later from racing worldwide, he blitzed it. Everyone that was there was like, dude, your brother's killing it this year. I'm like, I know, man. He's been focused for 12 months.
Fuck, how long ago was this?
That was 2016, I think was the year that he won.
Yeah. So what's he doing now? Is he still got anything to do with racing?
He does. So he actually he did 2 years overseas, and then Nissan pulled out of racing worldwide. And
right. Holy shit.
The team that he raced for actually asked for him to come back. And because he was no longer an amateur driver, he was considered a pro. And he raced at Silverstone, Spa, everywhere.
That's pretty cool, to say, oh, fucking pro driver, man.
I'd be watching him race at 3 a.m. our time, and he'd be messaging him on Facebook, and he'd be like, yeah, man, I'm just going out for my next stint. I'm like, oh, cool. I'd be getting the behind the scenes goss, and his passport said racing driver, which was the coolest thing. That blew my mind.
Fuck, you must be pretty proud of him, man. That's pretty cool.
I am. Yeah. And so anyway, he Nissan pulled out, and the GTR and the Blancpain series wasn't very competitive because it was a couple of years old, which happens. The more money teams have, the more they can build up a car, which Nissan wasn't.
It's all about money.
Yeah, it is. It's politics. So
politics, money, racing. Just
Well, they have a BOP because in the Blancpain series, it's like Ferraris, Lambos, Benzes, Mercedes-Benz, and everybody's in there. They have a thing called BOP, which I think stands for balance of performance or balance of power, but I think it's balance of performance. And the Skyline, the year that he won GT Academy, the GT Academy previous graduates blitzed the Blancpain series that year because the Skyline was mega fast. Yeah. So the officials from Blancpain the following year just nerfed the Skyline, made it really slow because they were like, you won.
There's politics for you, yeah.
Yeah, so the next 2 years, Matt didn't get any podiums, and he was real bummed, and the team was obviously losing money because they weren't winning races, and so that's politics. But yeah, he ended up basically getting a spot in the touring car series here in Australia, the TCR that started up. And
TCR, okay, so he's in that. Yeah, that's so fucking cool.
Melbourne Motorsport is going to be one of their drivers. Yeah, he was actually at the Formula One when it got cancelled.
Oh man,
here in Melbourne this year. Yeah,
fucking hell. That's the thing. TCR's come. There's never a bad time, you know, because it's fucking cool. But man, it came a bit late. If TCR kicked in 2005, holy fuck, it would be huge right now.
Yeah, definitely.
Because at that stage, we were. Nothing against Holdens and Fords, but fuck, we were over it.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. It's I don't want to see 4-door cars. There's extra weight in those doors, and I want to see the return of what the GTR was in.
Well, it's clever engineering. Then it's the teams that pick a good platform and figure out how to make it go fast. It's more exciting, I think.
So. Yeah, multi-make series. The whole concept of you could be driving one of those cars. I know that's what Holden and Fords were. It was but at the same time, all the taxis on the street were Holdens and Fords too. So it's just, I think the idea of manufacturers getting involved and putting a smaller car in there that, someone that's getting their first car,
Mm,
would be like, oh shit, I could actually buy one of those.
for
And that was
sure.
such a smart move.
Yeah, definitely.
This sort of production car racing.
It's more exciting. Like you might go out and buy, a brand new Club Sport or a XR6 Turbo or something, but it's not going to be representative of what's on track.
Well,
Whereas,
Holden's not even around anymore, right?
no, that's done. It's cooked. That's it.
That's amazing. Like,
Isn't that? I never thought in my lifetime
in,
Holden would be gone.
you took the words out of my mouth. Like, I would never have thought in my lifetime. No way.
Yeah, I've owned like 15 Holdens. Like I'm not a Holden fanboy, but I've owned a lot.
I love Holdens. I
Yeah,
love Fords too, but it's just
yeah.
like I would never, um, just never would have expected it, man.
No, no. Yeah, it was such an iconic car. Not that anything's going to go away. Everyone's still got Holdens, and they're obviously going to be an Australian pride car. But
Makes me want a two-door Monaro so bad. Like the new one, yeah, the last one. Like it just makes me like, fuck, I should have bought one because they're only going to go up in price. But like,
yeah,
fuck, I really like that car. So
my mum had one. She had a blue CV6, so
yeah, yeah, yeah,
super
yeah.
V6 that she only sold a couple of years ago. But
Damn.
because it was too much for her, I thought about buying it, but it's not a V8. It was a V6. It was pretty weak, and I was like, yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
cool shape. They really were onto something with that. I think that
Well,
was
two doors, man. Like as soon as I saw that, I was like, fuck, this is what V8 supercars should be.
yeah,
Fucking two doors. But
yeah.
hey, look, dude, let's talk about your business. I mean,
Oh yeah,
I'm like born in thread. I mean, I think I'm a kid of the 80s. So I think everyone in the 80s knew someone's mum that like had a screen and,
yeah,
oh,
yeah.
make your own t-shirts and you
Yeah.
have a go at the squeegee and shit.
Art projects.
And it's like, fuck, it just
Yeah,
feels so good to like, even as a kid, like 10-year-old, it was so cool to walk around in my own t-shirt.
for sure. Yeah, that's mega.
And then like it gets to a point where I almost tried to design my own stuff to look better than the rock bands that I was into. I remember doing a Poison t-shirt.
Yeah, right.
And people at school were like, what the fuck is that? It looks fucking shit. I'm like, fuck, I did it. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, you're in business. Right. Yeah, that is like that. No, for sure. No, I got into this to save my soul. Really,
Wow, that sounds deep.
it does, but it's not really, but it kind of is. I'd worked at JB Hi for a long time. Prior to that, I was a mechanic by trade and done a whole bunch of odd jobs
Okay.
in between.
Okay.
And then I became a bit of a home hi-fi car audio specialist, worked for some high-end shops, and then became a rep for a company here in Melbourne, actually, that sold car audio Australia-wide. And then
Hmm.
I was just so dissatisfied. I was just so done with retail and like the politics and the bullshit. And I was just like, and even though I could earn really good money, it wasn't about the money anymore. I wanted something that was satisfying.
Dude,
And
don't
so,
we all? I mean,
yeah,
like, it gets to a point where all you do is complain about work and this is not right, right? Like when you catch
yeah,
up with your mates for a beer or if you catch up with them for a gaming session, all you do is complain about your work. It's kind of like
definitely.
something's not right.
Yeah, and my friends were like, "Oh, aren't you having the best time? You're earning good money. You fly like interstate to do stuff." And I'm like, "Not really, man. Like it's just the same old retail bullshit." So
Mm.
I basically it took a weird path. I lived with a guy that had done an art degree, and he actually knew how to use Adobe Illustrator.
Hmm.
And I had this wild idea back in 2009, 10, that I was going to build my own iPhone app. I'd seen some video by Apple saying like, anybody can build an app, and it was bullshit because not anybody can build an app.
Mm.
Maybe you can now, but back then you couldn't.
It's
And I
still
had,
hard now, yeah.
yeah, I had no coding experience, no artwork experience, no marketing, website, nothing. But I was like, I'm a can-do guy. I'll figure it out. And all my friends were like, you can't just go and make a game. And I'm like, well, I'm gonna. I had this massive retro games collection. I had an art background, just doing drawings and stuff. And I was like, I'm going to figure it out. So my flatmate showed me the basics of how to do some stuff in Illustrator. And
Mm.
I started designing all my 2D sprites and started building games, and wasn't even coding. I was using a proprietary program called Game Salad.
Yep.
Built an iPhone app. Over 2 years, rebuilt it 30 times, actually released it, and it was out there, and my friends were downloading it, and it made it into the top like 50 of paid gaming arcade apps for a little while.
Fucking hell, that's pretty good, bro.
Yeah, it was in there for a very little while. Like,
It's a savage market now. It's like saturated,
I believe it.
so saturated.
Yeah.
But good going, man. Like
So,
that's
well,
so yeah. How to go? How does it go from there to?
yeah, that's a good question. So basically I was hooked. I was hooked on designing and being able to output my own graphics, and I loved it. It's what I should have done in school if I hadn't left school early. And basically, uh,
You got good. I mean, that's the thing. If you're building a game, the
yeah,
amount of repetition and tweening between like animation states and stuff, like
yep,
I know what that's like. Like it's the
yeah,
same as like building websites and shit like that. You have so much of this repetitious work
hmm,
that other people don't understand it because they're just like playing the end product. But what they
yeah,
don't understand is when you do something over and over and over again, fuck, you get good.
yeah. You agonize over every detail, and you dream, you live it, you breathe it. So yeah, I was working as a rep for Car Audio Company and building Nom Nom Monkey every spare hour I had, and I didn't really have a partner at the time, and I had a friend helping me with it, and he was kind of coming on board as a partner, and we did a lot of it together. I gave him a lot of the repetition stuff to do, and I would just figure all the hardcore stuff out. And we released this game, and it's called Nom Nom Monkey. It was out for a couple of years, and it did really well. I was really proud of it, and we kept getting asked for update. People reviewed it, and there's videos on YouTube of people like
Did you
playing
make
it.
money?
Yeah, we made a little bit. We didn't make, like, when you
Like,
look at the man hours, like there's like 800 to 1,000 hours in that game.
yeah,
We made
sure.
like 30 cents an hour or something. Like not a
Okay.
lot.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, like we did okay, and I was like hooked. So anyway, when we released the app, I went looking for a screen print shop to print me some shirts, and I found this shop, and I'd never done it before. I never ordered shirts before, so I just sent the guy my artwork and said, "Here's the t-shirt mock-up," and he was like, "Cool, it's Vector," and he would come back,
Exactly right. It's
yeah,
vector. So
yeah,
that's a big deal already. Yeah.
wasn't
Crisp
wrapped or
lines.
pixel.
Yeah.
And 2 weeks later, he's like, "Yeah, come pick up your shit." And I get there, and they look terrible. And I was like, "What the fuck did you do?" And he was like, "Yeah, well, this is how they turned out." I'm like, "I'm not paying for that." So I went looking for another print shop. I found this print shop that looked really good, and they were like 100 meters from my house. And when I walked in there, I was just like, "Fuck that other guy." And I said, "What do you have to do to get a job here? I've worked in retail and customer service for years, and I know how to do vector artwork. Surely this is a marriage for me. Like, I can work here."
You're a go-getter, eh?
Yeah,
You're aggressive with it. Like fuck it. Like you're
yeah,
that look, a lot of people lack that, man. You
yeah,
know?
yeah. So the chick was like, "Yeah, I'll talk to the boss," and the boss was like, "Yeah, can you start next week? I need another salesperson, and you actually know what artwork is, so let's go." And
Fucking hell. Like I don't I think like, like with all these podcasts that I do, sometimes I just talk a lot of shit, but then it gets to a point where you kind of know there's some nuggets of gold in there, you know? You
yeah,
know, and I think that's a little bit of that sort of attitude of like it's an old school attitude,
mm,
like walking into Woolies and getting your first job and like, not doing it all online and not just go in there and like fucking ask for the manager.
yeah,
Come
yeah. I
out
was
and
hustling because I wanted out. I wanted out from retail. So
even that word hustle, it's like, especially for guys, like I know a lot of girls that hustle hard, but
yeah,
like I don't know many guys that hustle hard.
mm, yeah.
Yeah,
I know.
it's really weird. Like it's like they just sign up to some shitty job that they fucking hate and they're
And
not
just do it.
hustling, Like they looks like they're hustling on Instagram, they're fucking
Mhm.
partying hard, but
Really go
I
back
know
to
the
the money.
reality, man. I know they live at home with their parents still and stuff like that, but
Yeah,
it's like it looks like they're hustling, but I don't think they're like it's not even taking risk.
no,
It's not even a risk that you took. You just went in there and just went, fuck, what's the harm in asking? You
yeah.
know?
I was like, "Were they going to say no?" Like, okay, no worries. It was just thought this
Right.
was a good shot.
And look at you now, like how many years on from then?
10 years on. Yeah, yeah. It was 2010.
Success story, man.
Yeah. So yeah, the way that I came to be in the industry was like that, and I
Yeah.
worked there for a couple of years,
Yeah.
and I was just like, man, screen printers a lot of the time are almost like tradies. They're really good at what they do, some of them, but like they don't really have any customer service skills or even just an idea of how to market something.
It's old
They've just
school.
got their customers and they've
Yeah.
always printed for them, and that's that. And I went, well, what if I like made a print shop that was really about customer service, but not wanky, just like we will look after you and I'm going to under promise and over deliver, that old school kind of value.
Yep.
And actually do some cool prints, like kind of pick and choose who you work with, which at the start you don't, you print for everybody. But
Well,
like,
it's like setting up a graphic design company.
yeah, I
You know,
imagine
you're
just like,
trying to create a portfolio of shit that you're actually proud of.
yeah, exactly. And yeah, basically I just went, all right, I was working at a print shop at the time.
Mm.
And my friend reached out and said, why don't you move to Melbourne? And I was like, that's an art capital. Like, I really enjoy going there.
Mm.
I'm going to do this and I'm going to start this company. And I couldn't come up with a name. And then it hit me. And I was like born and bred, like it's what you're born to do. I'm going to like, it sounds so stupid when I say it like this, but, and I was like born and bred. I'm going to put a little funny twist on it because I like taking the piss a little bit. So I was like, that'll do. And it was actually on the 12th of December 2012. So 12/12/12 was the day that I like got on Instagram, found the name was available,
Yeah.
registered the business name, and like set up the Twitter and the Facebook and brought the domain name. And I was like, all right, that's it, I'm in. I moved to Melbourne and I basically put out an email to a whole bunch of print shops that I thought were really cool in Melbourne, all the big shops that I could find.
Yeah.
And I just wrote an email just talking shit, being like, I've worked in screen printing for 2 years. I'll be your mega art guy. I can sell like a mofo. I know what Pantones and vector art is and how to separate in Photoshop. Like, just give me a chance and I'll kill it for your business. Because I just wanted my foot in the door in a really big shop to see what
See,
it
you're a go-getter. That's the thing. Like, you know,
was.
it's not like you were using pre-existing channels or pre-existing
Uh-huh.
ways of advertising. It's like just being able to write that
Mm.
and be honest about it and
Yep.
like rely on experiences that you've had.
Yeah.
You know,
100%. Yeah.
but it's like people, I just feel like people almost, there's such a disconnect between getting what you want out of your next job
Yeah.
and actually the steps it takes to even attempt to get that job.
For
It's
sure.
almost like they feel like, oh fuck, this gap is so huge that I'm not even going to bother.
One step at a time, man.
Right? Don't you think it's like, you know, you had all of that experience which obviously gave you confidence.
Yeah, well, I had to eat shit. Like, I wanted to be in the art room at the screen print shop I first worked at, but they put me in retail sales. So I was the guy emailing everyone, and there was this two part-timers that came in every like half week each
Mm.
that did all the mock-ups and seps, and I was like, oh, I want to do what they're doing. And the guy wouldn't let me do it because I was making him too much money doing sales. And I was like, oh. So when I moved,
But in retrospect, that was so good for you.
it was perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
It's almost like in a lot of design companies and agencies, it's nearly impossible to hire a secretary to just be a fucking secretary. Because what happens is they are the primary first person contact for every client.
yeah,
Clients love them.
yeah,
They love the clients.
yeah,
Next minute, they're like, I don't want to be secretary anymore. I'm way too powerful for this
yeah,
shit. I want to be a project manager.
yeah.
Bam. And it's like the running joke is like sometimes being in that position,
Mm.
the lowest position, you're actually, everything's going through you.
Yeah, you got to do your time for sure. You got to learn.
Right. And all
Yeah,
you learn about how the business runs. You learn about how much everyone's being charged out at. You
yep,
learn there's all these legal documents on the server, and you become the gateway.
yeah, yeah. I learned a lot. I learned so much in those 2 years, and it was even
Yeah.
the same way that I got into retail. Like, I was washing cars because I quit being a mechanic and I hated that because it wasn't fun changing brakes and doing oil changes.
You
And
break your hands.
yeah, oh yeah, my hands are all munted, but yeah. And then like I walked into JB Hi-Fi. That was the same story. I walked in and said, I want a job here. Like, I love car audio. Give me a job. And they said, you can start the warehouse. I was
Yeah, but people don't even ask for the job. That's what I'm thinking. It's kind of like they feel like there's this disparity between uh it's like it's unrealistic for people. But in actual fact, it's it's probably better that it takes someone that is willing to take a risk and do it rather than everyone fucking doing it. Like
Yeah,
it's probably just designed like that because that's the way life is.
I use it as an edge, as a way to go face to face, because it's almost like if you send someone a letter and say, "Hey, give me a job," they'll be like, "Ah, fucking chuck that shit on their desk and throw it out."
Bang
Go
on,
to
right?
their face and say, "Hey, give me a job." They've actually got to say no to you. There's
Yeah.
probably a really good chance going to be like, "Oh, you came here, you made the effort." Like,
Dude, I have two
yeah.
things that just reminded me of. Like one, like the first time I went to get like just a job at Woolies, and
Mm,
asked for the manager, and the manager came out and he just goes, "Come back next Tuesday at 11 o'clock or whatever," right? And then like my mate and I rocked up 10 minutes earlier, and we're just waiting outside, going, "Oh fuck, we're too early." 5 minutes earlier, we walk in, and as soon as he comes down, he checks his watch. He goes, "Come upstairs, guys.
you
Gave
got a
us a
job.
job." Yeah, so it's like
Yeah,
you could see the old school, like, "Oh fuck, thank God we were early." Oh
yeah,
fuck, he checked his clock. It just went, they passed the test. You know,
yeah,
um, I don't know. It's just like that. I don't know. It's that old school
yeah,
taking initiative.
definitely.
Another thing that I like to do is like when I was running a design company all those years, the corporates used to say, "Can you send us a quote?"
Mm.
Right? And then like you could sit there and we started doing like, fucking 10-page quotes because you got to fill it up. It's got to look
Impressive.
chunky and corporate and put logos and make it design and make it look all fucking slick and shit. And you'd be like charging 30K or something for a website, and then you'd say like there's 3 mock-ups in there, blah blah blah. And you can't beat a shark at their own game sometimes. So they would be like, fuck, why don't we just pay you, a third that price, and you can just do one mock-up first. And if
Uh,
we like it, then cool. You don't have to do the other 2 mock-ups. So you don't have to charge for that bit in your quote. And
yeah.
I'm like, fuck this fucking shit. So I figured out, take them out to lunch,
Yep.
meet them at a cafe,
Hmm.
and start talking shit. Let them know what you do. Ask about the job, and then literally halfway through the meeting, when they least expect it, look at them in the eyeballs and say, "So what's your budget?"
Yeah.
And
Straight up.
they just fucking say exactly how much money they've got.
Yeah.
And it would be way more than what I expected.
Mm.
Or if that didn't work, I'd be like, you've got 3 prices in your head. One of them is like, holy fuck, this would be a steal if these guys only charged me this much. And
Yeah.
there's another price that says, fuck, this is our limit. This
Mhm.
is, we already know how much we can afford.
Yeah.
And then I'd say there's a third price though, and that's one that you're happy with spending and
Yeah.
I'm happy with taking.
Yeah.
So like, let's just spill the beans and like, what's your middle price? And then
Yeah.
they would tell me, and I'm like, sweet,
I
I'll
can
do
live
the
with.
job.
Or no, I can't. You need to like step up. Yeah.
Right. But it was like this person to person thing. It wasn't done over email.
It's
It
so
wasn't done over a letter. It
yeah.
was like, it's a human thing to take that risk, be confident. And then when you've got someone and you're mid conversation with them, well, it's like you said, like you walked in there and asked for a fucking job. Like
Hmm.
it's louder than any CV they
Yeah.
received. It's, you know,
Yeah. A lot of the times I was going for jobs that I didn't really have good experience in. And I just wanted it because it was interesting to me. I thought I could really get my head around it. And because I didn't finish high school, and not because I was illiterate or anything, but because I made some poor choices and decided, like, school's not for me. I felt really behind the 8 ball, and that was my edge. Was like, just go in and make it work. Put in the work, and show them that you're not a dead shit, and that you're gonna, do whatever they need you to do. So I got bored in jobs really quickly because I kind of got through it all, and then was like, "Is this it? Okay,
yeah.
next." And
Yeah,
super
you're not meant to
impatient.
be a Mac operator. Like
Yeah,
some people can,
yeah,
but I don't think you're the type of person to sit there knowing that you can do more, but then being in a job that doesn't allow you to do more is pretty frustrating.
definitely. I left a lot of jobs because of that. Because I was like, I could do this so much better, or we could do this so much better. Why I
Yeah,
was stuck. I always hated in jobs when they said, like, I'd be like, why do we do it this way? And they'd be like, oh, because we always have.
they're like, shut up.
That's the death
Stop
of your
trying
business.
to complicate it.
Yeah. And I'd be like, just so like with my staff, like I've got a small crew. There's four of us, five of us, including me, four staff. And I'm always like, if you find a better way to do something or you want to pitch an idea to me,
Yeah.
I don't mind.
Yeah.
If it makes sense to me, we'll try it.
I
Mm.
like that too, man. I like that kind of size, you know? Like I think I've always in my head I always dreamed of when I was younger, I used to want to be in a like an 8 or 10 person company.
Mhm.
But I never got there, you know? Like I think I've only ever had like teams of 3 or 4.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
in retrospect, I think it was the best,
yeah.
my best times,
Yep. Definitely. We're in a
because you
really
know
good spot.
it's just like everyone's responsible, you know,
Mm.
and you can see if they're doing the work or not.
Yeah.
Like
100%. You're not
imagine
disconnected.
being a boss of like a building of hundreds of people. Like you don't know what the fuck people are doing.
No, you just see the numbers, what's happening. You don't really dive in. No, I
Yeah,
love it. So yeah, for me, this has been the first job that's stuck that I could see myself doing long term. Like I've got other
dude,
interests.
10 years is a long. It's substantial.
For me, it's the longest run I've ever done. Yeah,
Yeah, it's substantial.
because
And it's creative, and obviously there's room to grow as well.
I've got a limit on it. I actually, so we kind of got to that point that I was telling you, but like when I got a job in Melbourne, I got a job at a really big print shop, one of the biggest,
Mm.
and I was really excited, and I was going to be their art guy. I wasn't a salesperson. I was like, and man, I talked it up. Like I was like, I can do this, and this, and I could. And when I got the job, I had to learn some new stuff pretty quickly, but I got there. And after about a year of doing it, I realized that these big, busy print shops that were doing all the cool stuff weren't the coolest to work at.
Ah,
Yeah, there was 20 or 30 people there. There was some bad culture. There were some things that I didn't think was the right way to do it, but it wasn't my shop. I was like,
I was about to say, if you
yeah,
if it once you're your own boss, it's really hard to work for someone that you can't respect. Like,
yeah,
man, if I could work for someone like I don't know, I don't even know Elon Musk, but like, fuck, if it's someone that I look up to
yeah,
and respect, then I think I can do it, you know.
yeah.
But if it's someone that's like, I can't work for the man if I can't respect the man. Like,
Nah,
it's just I'd hit the eject button for sure.
that's what I did. I got to a point where I was
Yeah.
like, forget this. And I actually got a gig with a friend that was doing their marketing for a telecommunications company that sold mobile phones to corporate companies. And
Mm,
it was a shit job, but it was an in between job because I was like, I'm going to do Born and Thread full time.
yeah.
And I've been doing it part time. I've been doing prints for customers through whatever shop I worked at.
Hmm.
And I'd negotiated with the shop I worked at, like, I'm going to bring these jobs to work. And, if we can print it a bit cheaper than your normal prices, because I'm organizing everything, that'd be rad. And
Yep.
they normally were like, yeah, whatever. If you can bring in work, we don't give a shit. Cool. So it worked. And I got this crappy corporate job, hated it, and basically ended up going back to another screen print shop. And my partner at the time, we lived in Richmond, which is in a city in Melbourne. She had an apartment there. We were living together. And she was like, forget this. You come home after an 8-hour day, you work till midnight, hustling to put out these jobs that you then print at work the next day. She's like, just quit. I was like, what? No way. Like, I've never not made money since I left like high school. And she was like,
Mm.
just quit. I'll bankroll it. Like, if we don't make any money, we'll just assess it. And so Born and Thread is where it is today because of her, because I wouldn't have done it for another year or two.
See,
So
that's fucking mad. I mean, you deserve that though, too.
oh,
You know,
she
and,
backed
and
me.
yeah,
Yeah.
but at the same time, like she supported you because obviously she knew the kind of person you were too. That's the thing.
Yeah.
It's like, like if
It was
fuck,
pretty
I
negative.
was about to get cliche and just say like that's what a fucking real man should do, but holy shit, man, it's like
Yeah.
you don't sit there and sulk, right? Like you're not that kind of person. So obviously you've been a go-getter before that.
Yeah. Well, she'd seen the stuff I'd done, and I think she just knew that she'd heard me talk about it because I obsess over stuff. So it
Yeah.
was my obsession at the time was like, I'm going to make this work because all these shops I've worked at, from small to big to small, they all got their own thing going on, but none of them have really nailed it. And I think I can give it a crack. And I don't know if we have nailed it the way I thought we would, but we've definitely done some things right. And my basically, yeah, I started out first year and I was like, if I can make this much money so I can cover my bills and my partner doesn't have to pay for me my way, which was really like,
They're the baby steps you're talking about,
yeah.
you
And
know?
I did. I ran my business out of the apartment in the spare room. I used to have coffees on Bridge Road with
Yeah.
customers and take t-shirts to show them. The coffee shop used to know to bring me coffee after I'd shown them the shirts so I didn't get coffee all over my samples. And and then I got my own
And
little inner city little shop that was in this big share space, this art community space
yeah.
called Ironside Studios. I had my little shop there. And now I'm out in Ringwood, which is out near where I live in the eastern suburbs. And it's just grown so much. And now I have like
You have
staff.
staff, man.
Yeah,
Like,
staff freaking
fucking
me out.
hell. I know. That would freak me out too, bro.
Because I'm like, I've worked with dickheads and I don't want to hire a dickhead. I worked at JB Hi-Fi and fired dickheads. Like I don't want to do
Dude, sometimes I just feel like you got to be the mean guy if you got
yeah,
staff, you know, and I'm not good at that. I'm too relaxed. So like all the staff I've ever had in my businesses, they just ended up getting too lazy and had to let them go, you know? Like it's just I'm just too matey, you
it's
know, but I mean
hard.
that's a skill that I lack, you know, for sure.
Yeah, I've had to learn that really fast. But
Mm.
a couple of my staff came to me because they reached out just like I did. And
Yeah,
it
that's
really
cool.
impressed me. So there's two girls I've hired that have both reached out, and I hired somebody else putting an ad and actually interviewed like 15 people and couldn't pick who to take. And she had
Yeah.
the best, when I really broke it down, she had the best options. So I was like, I'm going to hire this girl.
Yeah.
And then another guy that works for me has got a wealth of screen printing experience that we went in together as partners and that didn't work out. And now he's just gone on to do the next stage of what he wants to do, but he still works here, which is awesome.
Hmm.
So like it just grew into something that I really love and I'm really proud of because I feel like we put out some really quality prints. We're not selling our soul. We're not ripping anybody off. We're not stealing anybody's work. We're
Yeah.
just, we put out an Instagram post, and if people like what we do, they
You're
get
not selling out, you're not
nah,
making these huge compromises and being fucked in the bum or nothing. You like
nah.
you're actually just having fun
Yeah,
still.
yeah,
Um, that's the thing. Like Melbourne's not necessarily like the mecca either. It's
no,
like Melbourne's difficult, man. Like I know a lot of people that have businesses in Melbourne. It's like um no, there's heaps of money in Sydney, but it's hard to get at. And Melbourne's like it's heaps arty and might seem like there's people with money there, but it's like it's pretty tight there too, right? So
dude, yes,
and creative people that have the coolest shit that you want to print don't have any money, and it's like fuck, it's just this circular fucking thing.
yeah. I when I first started Born in Thread full time in Richmond, I started doing this thing called a Sunday shout out, where I just found a local artist or even a non-local artist,
Hmm.
and I just repost one of their images and be like, check this dude out. Like, not that we had, I think we had 300 or 400 followers on Instagram. We had nothing, and I was just like, check this dude out. I really like their stuff, and sometimes they'd reach out and be like, hey, you want to catch up? Like, I'd love to print some stuff with you, and you'd be like,
Yeah.
yeah. I wasn't even doing that for that. I just thought your stuff was cool. Like that's my vibe.
I think that's community building, and
It's really fun.
it's the old school like word of mouth kind of style.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're not shoving something down, or you don't have an ulterior motive either.
No, no. Catch up for coffee with them and be like, man, I just really like your stuff. What can I help with? They'd be
Yeah.
like, I've always wanted to do some like a little product release. And I'm like, let's do it. What can I do to help?
I'm the same way, man. When I was running a design business, I never had like a set rates for design or coding or whatever. I always just worked to budget. So
Yeah.
or I did a whole lot of. I mean, I don't know. Sometimes doing not. I did a whole lot of not for profit stuff, and
Nice.
the well, it's nice, but the problem with that is as soon as it gets out there that you do not for profit stuff, all you get in the inbox is not
Yeah.
for profit stuff. So that got a little bit hardcore for a while there. It was kind of like, oh, we want to do this for free, but fuck, we can't do
Mm.
everyone's websites, but like working to budget really works because, rather than me hitting them up with this quotation that they're going to go, holy fuck, it's
Mm.
like, well, what is your budget? And it always worked really well. It's like, yeah, if you've only got $50, well, fuck, maybe I can't help you. Okay. You know, you get that,
Sorry, yeah.
man. You get that. You
Here's
get
an
that.
Instagram
50 bucks.
post.
Like,
That's what I can do, Yeah.
but like, you know, like when they say something that is like, yeah, well, I could do something like because I liked what they were trying to do or liked, you know,
Yeah,
who they
that's
were
pretty
or
much
something.
how I worked with them. Not
Yeah.
like we had minimums and stuff. And
Well,
sometimes,
you have to if you're doing a screen.
yeah, it's such a hard barrier for people to get past. They get in touch and want to
They,
do some shirts, and they're like, I just need to do five. And you're like, well,
they don't.
we
Well,
can,
they don't get it. I
no,
mean,
yeah. That's a big
the
part of it is education. That's the hardest part, I think, is just once you've got someone across the line and you've shown
yeah.
them how it all works, the next time it's a breeze normally if you've done your job right.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. But as screen printers, you get typecast too. So I've done some stuff for volunteer groups and done some cheaper printing where we've basically done it for next to nothing because they reached out and wanted to do something, and I was like, yeah, that's something I can get on board with.
Hmm.
And you do get a few more people reaching out then, which is fine. You can pick and choose because it's your business.
Yeah. Sure.
But in screen printing, you get typecast for sure. Like there's screen printers that get known for just doing like a certain style of printing, and it's just for that demographic, like tattoo shops or for like CrossFit gyms or for something like that. Whereas I've managed to try and keep it pretty open. So we'll print for artists, we'll print for an independent brewer, we'll print for
Yeah.
a cool apparel brand that's trying to, be the next Nike
Yeah.
and thing.
Yeah.
And I love that because it keeps it really varied. You're not doing the same thing all the time.
But it's super old school too. That's the thing. It's like it's almost like, you know, I know some mates that do the distillery. They run the distillery, and it's like old school letterpress and shit like that. And it's like it costs so much money, but it's like it's old school. You know, it's
Yeah,
like I know there's companies like Moo that do it a shit ton cheaper, but it's not real
no,
letterpressing. It's fake, and like I've met a few people over the last 10, 15 years that are doing like, you know, cheaper print technologies, you know,
yeah,
like uh, they're like, Justin, let's work together and send me some high res photos and I'll print it out on a t-shirt and stuff. And like, I already know, bro. Like, I already know before they even send me the sample. I'm like, this is gonna be shit,
yeah.
you
There's some,
know. And it's not even possible, in my opinion. It's
no,
it's okay from a distance.
yeah,
It's okay, but it makes you feel like you're wearing plastic as well, because like you're printing a huge photo on your chest or something,
yeah.
and on a hot day, that thing just sticks to you. It's like, eh. So
Yeah. Well, that's where the consulting side of thing comes in. So each job, we kind of treat it like a bespoke print order. So if
sure, like a design
someone
job,
wants a
a proper
massive,
design job.
yeah, or if
Yeah,
someone wants a crazy photo printed on their shirt, we're like, yeah, we can do that. But when you wear that print, it's going to suck because it's a big plastisol rectangle print that doesn't breathe.
it's not going to look like the fucking photo that you're looking at on your screen right now. That's for sure.
Yeah,
You know, you got this thing lit up with pixels and
yeah,
fucking bright as fuck iMac or whatever, and
yeah.
put on a t-shirt that there's no bright pixels there.
No, well,
It's you know, it's not going to be the same.
we did this.
So
We did a cool print recently, which I was excited about when car brands get in touch. I'm always like,
mm,
yes.
yeah,
And
yeah.
this guy got in touch and he has this Volkswagen like Porsche sort of brand, and he wanted to get some shirts done. We had a Zoom chat because we couldn't get him into the showroom and actually show him all our print samples like we normally do because of
Mm,
COVID,
mm.
part of our COVID safety plan to keep trading. And I was like, look, man, I can do a Zoom chat. We can talk about it because he's like a face-to-face guy. And we chatted about it, and he had these crazy, like, bright designs that weren't difficult to print. They were just trying to explain to him that, like, that's not going to look like that when it's printed. But I got some tricks that I can try and make it look as close to on screen as what you want.
Yeah, that's what you can bring to it. Yeah,
Yeah. And when
yeah,
he came and picked it up, he was stoked. He was just
yeah.
like, and that's not me too. I'm not trying to toot my horn. That's wanky as, but he was just not expecting it to be that bright. We used some specialty inks to do that. And I just think it's what I get out of it. I really enjoy when we can solve problems. And
Well, that's the consulting, the service that you were talking about that sets you apart from someone that's just like, you know, they don't put enough care in,
yeah,
and just pump or they pump out fucking 100 units only to find out the client's not happy with it, and it's like,
Oh,
fuck. It's like, do you want to keep doing that every week? I
no
don't
way.
think so, man. So
I'm
um
gutted when I get an email like, "Oh, it didn't turn out how we thought," because we do so much
mm.
face to face and even just like really detailed approvals so they can really understand what's going to happen, run them through any problems.
But like, as someone who, like, I mean, running Zen, obviously I had a lot of issues like
Yeah,
with people, um second runs, third runs not looking as good as the first runs. And then, like, I would always arc up, man.
yeah,
I'd be like, hey, I've got a first run still here,
yeah.
and third run you guys are fucking up. I'm like, I'm not paying for this. So
No,
then they just have to do it again, and they're losing money. That's their fault.
yeah, yep,
And it's interesting, like, even if I go back further, like, I've always made t-shirts. Every single community that I've ever run or whatever, we always did a shit bunch of a shit ton of t-shirts, and it was all screen printed. And it kind of never turns out how you want it to, because you have these proofs and it's all digital, and it's like a rough placement on a digital t-shirt. But then you've got, there's a learning curve for the client, is what I'm trying to get
yeah,
at. It's
yeah,
like there's extra small all the way through to triple XL,
yeah,
and it's like the logo stays the same size on all of it.
yeah,
So it's going to look small on a triple XL. It's
yeah,
going to look huge on an extra small. And then you sort of say, well, I'm really picky about how high off the neck it is. So if they're saying like a four finger, well, maybe you've got fatter fingers than I do, and then you,
well,
you know,
yeah,
it, yeah, there's so much to it that,
yeah.
like, you are really at the peril of the screen printer.
Well, that's where, like, when I worked at shops where that shit would happen and the customer would come back upset and they'd be like, "Oh man, like this is way too high, or this is too big, or this print color's wrong, this Pantone's not what I thought it'd be."
Dude, it's almost every screen printer. So it's good to
Yeah.
hear that you know, you're addressing that.
Well, that was my core focus, was like
Yeah.
educating customers,
Yeah.
and our mock-ups are to scale. So we can only fit about 10 or 15 garments in the Illustrator artboard, because when you do the mock-up and they've got more than 10 or 15 garments, you're basically making two AI files and stitching it together as a PDF in Acrobat, because um, I make sure everything's scaled, because one of the biggest disconnects at one shop I worked at, they would make a mock-up on a vector garment, so they'd drawn a garment and
Yeah,
they
yeah, yeah.
mock-up.
Most shops, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but the mock-up, the artwork in the mock-up wasn't to scale. So if it was meant to be 100 mil, you were just guessing how big 100 mil was.
That's what I'm saying.
That
It's
was a
like,
nightmare. Yeah,
I think I mean, even with all those years of me printing a shit ton of stuff, it
yep,
was always just like, fingers fucking crossed. I
yes,
get boxes full of the gear and I'm opening
yeah,
it up going, oh, and like, even
yeah.
sometimes, like, there'd be a bit of pink in the white or something. And
Like
every
what?
single t-shirt had this slight bit of pink. And then you compare it to a previous, that's why you always hold on to a previous run that you're happy with. Cause it's like, I
Yeah,
can compare the two.
yeah,
But, even like when we went overseas and got some stuff done in China and stuff, it was just, usually was good the first time,
yeah.
because you can tell that when they do put a bit of level of care in, it
It's
can work. But
yeah.
then it's like, why drop the ball?
Well, I
For the
think,
second run or the third run, it's just bizarre.
yeah. Well, that's where I think we've built a business that has worked well for me, anyway. Because I'm proud of it, not because we come to work every day and we crank the tunes and talk shit.
Yeah,
That bit's
that
great.
sounds cool though.
That bit's great. But
Yeah,
the bit I like about it is that, like, we've really I've chased all the details, agonized over it like that bloody
yeah,
app back in the day, because
yeah.
it means that when a customer says, "Yep, that's good to go," they're going to get exactly that, because the artwork on the mock-up is scaled accurately. So when they approve it, what we pull out for print to make film and then put it on screen, it's all exactly the same. And even just educating them, like being like, "Oh, can we drop that back print to 150 down?" And you're like, so we put like a little pink dotted line and tell them the gap and everything. And you'd be like, you can do that, but on the front chest, that's going to sit below a girl's boobs and it's going to look weird. You actually kind of want to tuck it up to that 80 mil or four finger gap.
That's
You
just
know,
bothering, man. Like, you're
yeah,
just bothering. You're
yeah,
bothering to do that. I mean, I find it hard. Like after. last year after running a design company for the whole year,
Mm,
I just came off like a really bad point in my life, and um, I met some people that were like, "Fuck, let's do it. Let's set up a design company," because I've been there before. I spent my whole career doing this shit.
yeah.
If we're gonna find my feet again, I can do this. This will be a breeze.
Yep.
And it was painful, bro. I just like you talked about doing your time, right?
Yep.
We've all done our time.
Yeah, you've done your time for sure.
Yeah. So in the end, like I just couldn't go back there.
Mm,
It's like the whole um educating the client. Like, so you got to put so much care in,
yeah.
but it just hurts so bad when if I'm working till late on someone's I did so many logos last year. It's like I love logo design. I get so tired on it. I get in the zone on that shit, and I create a lot of mock-ups, man. I'm not like some corporate company that's like, we're going to give you 3 mock-ups. I'll give you fucking 30, you know because I
Yeah.
just love pumping it out, get the bad ideas out first, and then start refining the good ones. And I'm like, man, like I had my tunes pumping till like 3 in the morning on this, and I fucking
Yeah.
love it.
Had a
And,
great
and
time.
for the client to just go, I don't like it, the next day, or to show their dad or show their wife or something, or like, I know she doesn't like it, or
Yeah.
I was just like, oh, I can't do it. I can't like, I can't I didn't have the patience to educate. I didn't have the
Yep.
patience to twist someone's arm. Um, and at the same time, I'd worked so hard to get to a point in my career where I didn't have to compromise that much on shit.
Yeah.
Because, you come to me because you expect something, but
Yeah.
then it's like
That's tough.
when I started to like just change shit to suit them better,
That
I started to fall apart.
compromise sucks.
Dude, and towards the end of that year, I'm like, I loved it that the business was, I had 3 people in my space every day. It
That's,
was fucking cool. It kept me on my toes, man. Like I needed to get off the couch.
yeah.
I needed to get changed every day, have a shower fucking every day. I needed to fucking get into the routine
Yeah.
of being presentable again. And, you know, um, I think it was really good. It felt like crutches for me. It felt like, yeah, I'm back on track.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm like, yeah, I've done my time. I couldn't do it. So now I'm just shooting and stuff now, because it's like, it is more like pure art for me, in that, like, you know, I don't have to, I'm not working with girls that are like, oh, shot number 15, can you make my stomach smaller? Shot number 21,
Oh man. Yeah.
I choose not to work with those people. It's like, I'll work with them once, and if they're like that, I'm like, see you later. We're never shooting again.
Right. Yeah.
So I think I'm there right now at a point where it is more about, please trust me as
Yeah.
the creative. um you know uh I'm
You've
not
done
happy
your
to
time.
make huge compromises. I'm just not. I
Yeah.
just can't do it, man. I just like
No.
I just can't get there. But to hear that you put that level of care in,
Yeah.
it is what's setting you aside from all the screen printers that I've ever worked with, man. I'll be honest, like, if any one of them are hearing this, they fucking know who they are. But it's like, they also know that they dropped the ball at some point, and it was impossible to get replies from them sometimes. And I'm
Yeah.
like, man, I'm running a business here. I need
Yeah.
another 100 more t-shirts now.
Yeah. That's crazy, man.
You know,
We often get back to people, like we try to say same day, but sometimes it's within 20 minutes or an hour, and people are like, whoa. And you're like, what? Like, you sent me an email. I want to reply, you know?
dude, I think you're onto a really good thing, because it's like, it sounds tight. It's Melbourne as well, so it's you're not in New York or fucking some shit where like fucking shit can go crazy, but like, it's controllable. Um,
We've got
and
some,
it sounds like you're having fun too.
we have so much fun. Like, I got this great crew, and we all like, it sounds, I don't know how to paint it. Like, it's just, I make Spotify playlists, not really to put up on Instagram and pitch to customers. Like, that's got nothing to do with what we do. I make Spotify playlists because we've been cranking the same beats for 2 weeks, and the girls are like, "Yo, can we run something different?" I'm like, "Yeah, let me get on that."
But
You make
it's
a playlist.
yeah, but it's so true, right? Like I did the same thing. Like when I was working last year, there I am working on the Spotify playlist all the time because it's important to create a vibe, man. When
Really?
when you
Yeah,
when you start seeing like some of the dudes, like when I see Chris like actually start singing to a song that I put on the playlist, I'm just like,
yeah,
fuck yeah,
yeah, yeah.
fucking cool, man. And I think same thing with when I shoot, I have a playlist for that, and
Nice.
it's just a good vibe. It's a good vibe music. It makes you feel good.
Oh, I can't believe there's people in the world that don't like music, don't like a kind of music, don't like music full stop. That blows my mind because I
I,
don't get that.
Dude, I think it's like even in the creative industry, like when I go and visit my mates' design studios and they're like fucking big, they're fucking out there.
Yeah.
They're quiet, man. They're
Oh,
quiet, and the bigger the studio, the more quiet it is
really?
because you can't just sit there and fucking pump out some music you want because
Plenty
people
of
get
stuff to go.
offended. People are like, this is it's so everyone's on their headphones, no one's talking, and
That's bad
it,
culture. Oh,
but it's so every single company that out there that's in graphic design that's pumping it out, uh, there's no music there, man. No way.
well,
No way.
that's heartbreaking to hear that because I would have thought that'd be a really fun space, but obviously it goes too corporate, too big.
Nah, because yeah, I mean, people need to make phone calls, and
Yeah,
even here, sometimes like I'd always have to turn it down because someone needed to grab a call or whatever, and it's
yeah,
frustrating. It's frustrating because I just want to pump it, but like you
yeah. Well, we've got that problem here too. We get calls all day, so
yeah,
because Spotify is actually quite clever, where you can flick it from one computer to another. One of
okay,
the computers here is hooked up to a big set of speakers,
right.
and if I'm going to be on a long phone call, it's normally
Just
I'll
go outside.
I'll either go outside or I'll
Yeah,
transfer it to another computer so they can keep their groove on and it's all good. So, because you don't want to just like pause it all the time because that's just ruining the playlist. Like,
dude, it
getting
ruins the vibe, man. Like even with Zen, like I always really want to pump it really loud, but sometimes my business partners were like a little bit like fuck because they were making so many calls and shit. Then like I had to turn it down. I'm like, serious? You're fucking serious? Like it's a fucking warehouse here. Like let's go.
yeah, well, like, yeah, and that will improve your whole day because, like, at the moment I'm working Fridays here on my own because we're kind of busy, but not busy enough for everyone to be here. So they're working 4 days a week, and it's ramping up again now as lockdown looking like it hopefully.
Oh man, we didn't even talk about that, but it's almost not worth talking about. Like
No,
Victoria's
it's a thing. It's
fucked, man.
gone. Whatever.
Yeah,
It's
fuck the
nearly sorted.
police and shit. It's all over the news, man. The whole nation knows.
Having to carry a slip of paper that says I'm allowed to drive to work because it's more than 5 k's from my house that I signed for myself. That the cops can be like, "Where's your paper to travel?" And I can be
Dude,
like,
dude, everyone knows though. Like every other state is like, what the fuck is going on with Victoria? It's like,
"It's a bit crazy," but it did get out of control there. Like when it hit 700 a day, I was like, my wife is a nurse.
yeah,
She's
right.
worked for a year since she went on maternity leave, a bit more than a year.
Yeah.
She's just like, "This is getting heavy," and I was like, "Yeah, this is getting heavy. Like they need to lock the shit down." And then they locked it down, and we were like, "Whoa, that's this is a
Dude,
pretty
it's
serious lockdown."
I've
But
like
anyway,
yeah,
yeah.
I don't know. It's just throughout my lifetime, I'm 45 and I've never heard of the government doing jack shit actually
Oh,
ever until now. And
yeah.
like, not being able to go to a funeral or wedding is like
Oh,
it's so next level that I can't even comprehend it. To be honest, I
yeah.
cannot comprehend it because
Been weird to live through. Like, I got this awesome Datsun that I picked up in January. I've been doing all these mods to it. Right now the coilovers are getting rebuilt by a guy. I've just had the wheels rebuilt and repolished. These old SSR Mark II. Yeah,
yeah, I saw that. They're fucking. Those wheels make that car, man. I fuck
100%.
I
I bought
wish
the
people
car
would
because they're
invest
on.
in good wheels.
Yeah, yeah.
SSR Mark Twos. It's
Oh,
like
so good.
fuck. It's
Yeah,
such a hot wheel,
yeah.
and it's so sad when people have a nice car and just
Oh
don't
yeah,
put the value into the wheels. Like wheels make the car, man.
100%. Like the ride height and the wheels will
Yeah.
often, like you could have two cars next to each other and be like, that's a shit box. That is sick.
It
Like,
can be the
yeah,
exact same car,
yep,
but if it's got the right wheels and the right stance,
100%.
oh, it's
Yeah,
so next level that it's like obviously some people would never understand that. That's
no,
just the way it is. It's every type of
yeah,
person out there. So there's obviously people that will never get it.
no. But that's where you got to do your time too. You got to own your cars. You got to have stupidly low cars. Realize how inconvenient that is, but how cool it looks. And then you
Well,
probably go down the route of getting airbags because you're like, now I got a bit more function, but I can sack it when I pull up somewhere.
you gotta experience it all. Hey,
Yeah, I haven't
yeah,
gone down the route of bags yet. I thought about it, but
they're
anyway,
shit, man. They're
I
shit.
know.
Like I mean, they're awesome for a while,
Yeah,
and then after a while, they're
yeah.
fucked.
Well, I talked to a suspension shop that I really trust. They've done a few cars for me, and I said to him, "Be real with me. I'm thinking because I got this old Datsun.
Mm,
I like it really low, but it sucks to drive, like more than any other low car I've ever driven.
yep.
What if I put bags on it?" And he's dead set, looked me in the eye and said, "It'll fuck your car up, and you're not going to like it." And I went, "All right, that's all I
But
needed to hear.
it's so
I'll
true
stick with
because
that."
like it looks
Fine.
sick when you're laying it flat and you
Yeah,
want to leave it like that, but then like the rubber tends to rub up against itself and between the coils, and then when you leave it that low, you're basically destroying the rubber, and next thing you
yeah,
know, you got holes, and then you got to replace shit,
yeah,
and I don't know, it's like it's kind of cheating
yeah.
anyway. So
Yeah, I mean, it's a whole scene, and I can respect it, but it's not
oh,
for me.
I can respect it too. It looks fucking hot. It's eye candy
I
to
love
me.
it. When you see
Yeah.
a car roll in and then just air out, you're like, ah, that's
But
how the concept designer drew that car, like sacked. Like,
exactly. When it's low like that, fuck, it's so hot. But like,
yeah, it's not practical, but yeah, it's nice.
again, I feel like I've done my time with that too, man. I've
Yeah,
driven low cars, scraping all day long, and
yeah.
I think even when I got to like 40 years old, I was already like, what the fuck am I doing?
That's where I'm at
Yeah.
now. I'm
You're
37.
for yeah. So
37.
like when you have to have three mates in the car, like sometimes you just fucking do. Like you've gone out night on the town and you're the only one that drove. Got to drive them home, and like every bump you hit's like
Oh, well,
you know.
that's how this Datsun started off. I flew to Brisbane. I saw the car for sale, and I've been looking for one for ages. And my wife was like, "Just do it." She's like, "This is you
She
won't
sounds
shut."
mad, your wife.
Yeah, she was like, "You won't shut up about." When I pitched, I'm like it's this much money. It's more than I want to spend, but this is a car that's really special because it's actually not an Australian model. Like it's a Japanese model that was sent over because they had overflow back in '78. So it's got some trick shit that the Aussie models don't have. That doesn't mean anything to you because she's not a car person, but I'm like, but it's a cool
It's
car.
yeah.
And I've already got another car that she let me spend money on that I shouldn't have, but not silly money. It was like a 8 grand project, and yeah, it's a VS Commodore Ute, which is people are already cringing watching this,
I'm
right?
I'm cringing already.
Yeah, I had it for years. I got it from a friend of mine. He gave me the car, and there was nothing. It's a V6 auto, basic Commodore Ute, but it was a two owner, so it was really straight, really clean, nothing mess with.
At least it's handy.
Yeah, well, I drove it around for years as the born and thread work car, and then
Mm,
I retired it. Got a family car because we're gonna have a kid.
mm.
Got this big Commodore wagon, and I retired this car, and it wasn't doing anything. I was going to sell it, but it's not worth anything. And I was like, just let it sit there. And then I came up with this idea with the guy I was working with at the time, and I was like, what if you just built a Commodore as a JDM track car, and like, and I had this idea for the number plates for Gaijin,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
the plates were available, so I brought the plates, and then I went to like Aussie Tires, and I went and got a set of like big, 18-inch rims, and that were all JDM looking, like bright color, Tiffany blue, this bright.
JDM looking, I'm already cringing. I'm cringing hard
I
already.
know it's a full cringe car. It's got fake brides in it.
Oh my god.
For me, it was like, look, my wife is not going to let me spend money on a car, and this is the best way that I can go cruising with my mates and have a bit of a giggle. So I've got like a flip out late 2000s Pioneer 7-inch screen. It's always playing Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift because I think that's hilarious. It's got neons inside the car.
Fucking hell. It's a troll
It's a
car.
terrible.
It's a
Yeah, so it is
troll
wrong.
car.
And I take it to meets, and I took it to Motorex.
You got to have neons on it, right?
I do on the inside, yeah. Okay, yeah.
Just do them on the outside too.
Yeah, and then the whole
Oh
the
shit.
whole tray I filled with MDF, and then
Mm.
I covered it in initial D mangas. So
It's a troll car, man.
yeah, and people love it though, which blew me away. Like every time I pull up somewhere, people are like, sick car. And you're like, really? Like, you don't want me to leave? And they're like, no, that's funny as. So I took it to Motorex as a joke, thinking they won't let me in. They'll see the photos of my car and be like, no way. They let me in. And
That
then I
you
got in and I
display,
was
that's
like,
so funny.
my friend's got this really nice Merc that's got a V8 in it, and it's like a 90s Merc. It's a two-door coupe with massive big holes when he winds the rear windows down. Really lumpy cam, these really nice 1552 wheels that he spent like 10 grand on, custom made for the car.
They're fucking expensive, that
Yeah,
brand,
the
yeah.
car is gorgeous, right? And I'm rolling him to Motorex with him, parking next to him. And then the guys from Speed Hunters are like, Speed Hunters Live, we're at Motorex last year.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
they were like,
Dino
"You
and shit,
guys are
yeah.
in the wrong section. You should be in Speed Hunters Live." And I was like, "Oh, this is not a Speed Hunters car, man. Don't like no." And he's like, "No, for real. Bring it over tomorrow. Just tell them at the gate when you come in, bring it over here." And I was like, "All right." So I parked it in at Speed Hunters, and for sure, people were like, "What is this shit box doing here?" You know. But the dudes from Speed Hunters loved it. They thought it was hilarious. They got invited me out for the after cruise. They were really into it.
But that's the thing. Like I think like sometimes that's needed in the scene
Yeah, just to
when
kind of
you're not so
break it
fucking
up.
serious, you know?
All my friends were just like, "Man, you're the only one here with the balls to build a car. You don't give a fuck what people are going to say to you." And I'm just like,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't care. It was a way for me to get out with my mates and go cruising, you know, with this slammed VSU.
Look, that's the thing. Like, I think when you're doing it for the right reasons as opposed to for the wrong reasons, you know, like if you wouldn't get the fake bride seats if you were tracking the car seriously, like
No,
that's where shit like that gets frowned upon, right?
yeah, 100%.
Right? Like,
It's a daily driven car like it was at the time. It's parked now, but yeah.
yeah. No, I think that's cool, you know. Like,
So that's where,
yeah,
pitching the Datsun to my wife was a hard sell because I was like, now this is a real car
yeah,
that's going to cost real money, and I'm going to probably put some more money into it. And
yeah.
she was like, "No, it's fine. You don't. You know." She was kind of like, you're not out there spending 10 grand on a gaming PC or like getting pissed.
It's not even that, man. It's like if you're like a coke addict or something and
Yeah,
you're fucking blowing that kind of cash, that's a proper hole in your pocket.
yeah,
But I think like, you know, having a hobby that you pour money into is such a natural thing.
oh
It's
yeah,
like, you know, I almost don't even ask people what your hobby is. I'd rather just ask them, what do you spend your money on?
yeah. Well, then
Because
you, yeah,
that's it. That's the,
yeah,
you know, like, but at the same time, myself personally, I've gotten to a point where uh went a bit introspective at some point and just realized like, fuck, all the money I've ever earned in my life has gone into cars, you know, all of it. And I have the GTR still, thank goodness, right? But like every other car that I had was like, in retrospect, I just owned it for a year, took it to the track a bunch of times, sold it, and the next person just benefited so hard because I've
yeah,
just modded it so right,
yeah,
put the best fucking shit on that car,
yeah,
and like I just had to. At some stage, I just had to get out of that loop because I was spending so much money on drugs and shit that I couldn't even afford to do that anymore with cars. And I had sponsorships, man. Like I had like Toyo, and I had all these brands sponsoring me and giving me stuff for the builds, which was great. But sometimes with sponsorships too, you like you said with the Explod guys, you end up using something that takes the creativity away.
yeah.
You
It's a
have to fucking
compromise.
use it.
Yeah, yeah.
So
That ruins it for sure. Because it sounds like
so
a
you know.
dream to have sponsors, but
So
then
I think that whole like building a car with the trial and error is the best way to build a car. It's like you blow so much more cash
mhm,
because you try something, it's not quite right. I'm gonna buy the next thing and
yeah.
try that.
But that's how you
And
learn. Yeah,
right, so try a billion intakes, try a billion exhausts, try a billion wheels, um, it's expensive, man. Like, holy fuck. It just got to a point for me where I had to realize, like, uh, I struggled for so long to get double digits in the bank account. And like before cars, I had fucking double digits galore,
Mm.
and it's like for so many years there, I just could never get up to 10K in my savings. It just never fucking happened.
There's always money to spend on a car, man.
Dude, it's like realistically, it's one of the most expensive hobbies in the world, If
You need to stop saying that. My wife might watch this.
but it is
It's
about
true.
control.
It's
It's like
true.
at least you're
Yeah.
not, it's not like living in debt, like
No.
you save up for something, you spend it. It's
Yeah.
not like fucking it's on credit. So
No, she's really cool. Like the fact that she let me build the Ute, which was such a silly car, and she didn't understand it, and she won't ride in it, and like, um, that's now probably going to become a legit track car. We're talking, my father-in-law and I are talking about putting a barra in it and actually making it a or an RB, but that's probably too expensive. But putting something in it to make it a legitimate track car, because the suspension setup's actually not bad in there.
yep,
But the Datsun really, like, I flew to Brisbane in January to buy it because it was perfect what I was looking for.
that looks amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I picked it up, and I had a friend fly with me from Melbourne, and
Mm.
I picked up another friend in Brisbane, and three of us drove back. And you were talking about before about having three people in a lowered car. In a car that you don't know is that low until you drive it,
Yeah.
that car destroyed the front cross member on the way back from
Yeah.
Brisbane because
Yeah.
that 2 day trip, that, there's, I'm sure there's video of one of my friends bouncing in the back seat, like on the last few hours of the trip, just being like, fuck this car. We had so many problems on the way down. It was a nightmare drive. Like the tires were rubbing on the back to the point where they were nearly going to pop. So I had to find some stockies.
You burn the paint too, man, if you don't watch out.
Yeah,
Like
well,
sometimes it's so much rubbing that like I've actually burnt the paint
yeah,
on the guards.
you can get the metal that warm for sure.
Yeah, and then you're fucked. Like
Yeah,
that's a $500 paint job. Like
yeah. Well,
like if you burn the fucking paint on your guards, like you learn
well,
the hard
first
way.
first few hours in, one of the fender mirrors fell out on the passenger side, and I was like, no.
Just
And
vibrations and shit and
yeah, the
fucking
car's just not built to drive that far, like
yeah, yeah,
the
yeah,
way that it was that low. And
yeah,
and we got to the first stop in Sydney on the first night, and I was just like, oh man, these rear tires are jacked. They're so hacked in. The sidewalls must be nearly ready to pop.
yeah.
So I got on Gumtree, and we found a guy about 3 hours inland that actually had two stock Datsun wheels, tires. So we drove out to his place, and all through the fire, because the fires had just been through there, so it was crazy seeing these fire-ridden areas. We go
Fucking
and
hell.
get the rims from him, and he's this old geriatric dude that had these wheels on a trailer, and they've been flat for like who knows how many years, and the rims were half rusted. And I was like, and he's like, "Oh, just put them on, we'll pump them up." I'm like, "They're not going to pump up, dude. I'm an ex-mechanic. These tires are dry rotted and fucked."
Yeah.
Drove another hour to a tire shop in Eula, Dalla or something, and they fitted tires for me straight away. Turns out one of the rims had like a crack in it that was letting air out. So half an hour down the road, we like got a flat tire. And I'm just like, oh.
What a head fuck, bro.
Yeah.
Like what
And
a story, man.
when they jack the
Holy
car up, they crush
shit.
the sill, like they crush the little sill panel underneath because
Just
they.
because it's it's an old car, so it's
Yeah.
like, oh, bro.
So I was already like, the fender mirror's falling out, the sill's fucked, these tires are ruined, like,
God damn.
and my mates are like bitching about how hot it is and it's like bumpy, and now the fuel gauge has stopped working, so I'm keeping an eye on the odometer to make sure like we're not going to run out of fuel. And in the end, we pulled over at a road stop, probably 3-4 hours later, assessed that the tire was completely fucked, and I actually got the original spare off the car and put that on, and that
Yeah.
got me all the way home. So
Dude, I mean that's what you bought into though,
yeah, I
You're
know.
not buying a fucking Honda Jazz, right? Like
No,
like
there's no cruise control. Like,
it's just like I shot a girl today and she she looked at her car out the front. She said, "Oh, my car's so dirty." I'm like, "Did you even fucking look at my car?" Like we just driven like down to Botany Bay and back, and she
yeah,
hadn't looked at it. She hadn't commented on it. But I've got a Honda Jazz, and it's like I think it's 1.5 years old now or 2 years old now, and I
mhm.
literally have not washed it once since I bought it.
It's your daily.
it's a fucking
Yeah,
appliance, man.
yeah,
It's like,
it is.
you
It's an A
know,
to B
like
car.
it's
Yeah,
not even a car.
no,
It's just like I feel like when I hop in it and go anywhere, it's like teleportation.
it's so clinical because you just start it, you
I,
drive, and you get there. Yeah,
yeah, I don't have to put any effort in.
no,
It's just like it just gets me from A to B, and
yeah,
quite literally doesn't take any skill to drive or
no,
you know I
yeah,
mean, the other day, like 2 days ago, I went for a shootout. I was pretty far, man. I was like a one hour drive or so, like a bit further out. But
mhm.
like, I sat in the fucking left lane on the highway, like the M5, M7. In every other car I've ever owned, I'm that fucker in the right that's doing 130 and
Down
overtaking
the lane.
everyone. In this car, I was just like, I'm just gonna sit behind this fucking truck.
Yeah, just cruise. 'Cause what else is there to
Just
do? Yeah,
listen to
yeah,
the radio and just like it's painful, but at the same time it's
it's easy.
yeah, because I see all like you end up seeing the world differently, you know, like all these guys that are like on up my ass and like overtaking on the right. I'm like, I'm just not that guy anymore.
No, you kind of grow out of it. Hey, like
Right
there's
now,
something
anyway,
about
man. I'm just like I can see they're so fucking angry and they're so like you know, two or three of them overtake me and they're fucking at each other for another few kilometers. They're like, fucking move
yeah,
over. Someone moves over and then the other guy moves over and then the other guy's back on his ass again. And I'm just like, ah, whatever they're going through,
what's the
I'm
point?
just listening to the radio, man.
Yeah,
I'll get there a couple of minutes after you guys.
yeah, that's the thing though too. But yeah, I definitely drove more like a wanker when I was younger because you were just hyped. You're like, an old, I had an RA23 Celica with a twin cam engine in it that I thought was the shit when I was
Yeah,
like 20. And I just thrashed the guts out of it everywhere, like this mega exhaust on it. And I just,
totally. Like you don't think about your
ah,
neighbors or you don't think about neighborhoods or nothing.
you didn't care. Whereas
Yeah.
now, like, I'll start the Datsun and, roll it out on the street to warm it up and then like just putt around like a grandpa until it's up. Once it gets up to temp and the oil pressure's happening, I'm like, all right, it's
Uh,
not, like it's got a little bit of poke, it's all right. But you change. But
yeah.
there's something about an exhaust and a lowered car and even just a manual car that you can rip through the gears. It's so
Yeah.
visceral. You just want to enjoy it.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I think with the GTR, a lot of people like, when are you going to drive it next? I'm like, I don't know, but it's still mine, so I can drive it at some point.
Yeah. If I
Like,
wake up at 1 a.m. and want to go for a cruise, I can.
well, I can't right now. Actually, it's fucked. But like, if I had a sold it, then
Mm,
you're really fucked.
yeah, 100%.
So I think like it's always a situation where I can always take it over to Indies, my mechanic, and get it all nice and fit again. Do a
Yeah.
couple of track days, back into hibernation. I don't give a fuck so long as it's still mine and like it's not. I don't take that as pressure. When someone's like, fuck, when are you gonna drive it next? Fuck, I haven't
No,
seen it in ages. It's like, fuck, it's like it's my
doesn't matter.
car.
It's not going anywhere.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm itching to drive my car because I got it in January. I drove it to a couple of things, and
yeah. That's not too long ago, man.
literally 2 months after I got it, or a month and a half after I got it, we're in lockdown and can't drive my car anywhere. And
Yeah,
during lockdown, I got it on Club Rego, so permit Rego, so with the Datsun club that I'm in. And
that's good. That saves you money, eh?
yeah, it's like 90 days, and I think it costs $120 or something a year. It's so cheap.
That's fucking awesome. Yeah,
But you can't drive a permit car to work right now because you're not supposed to drive permit cars as a work vehicle. So
it's fucking
I haven't been
bullshit,
able to
man.
drive this car in like 3-4 months.
There's no COVID over here, eh, in
No,
Sydney. It's just like oh fuck it. Everywhere I go is packed out and no one's wearing masks and stuff. So it's just crazy that you're not even that far away from where I am, but it's like another world for you guys.
so weird, man.
I see it on the news, man. It's
Weird,
crazy.
weird seeing my friends in Brisbane that are having their kid's first birthday and having a barbecue and they're all having beers. And our kid's first birthday was like a Zoom call with our family because couldn't even go around anybody's house. But I'm not going to whinge about that. It is what it is. Shit got out of control here and they needed to
Yeah.
lock it down. But it looks like we're at the tail end of it, which is awesome because I'm ready to go to some car meets. I know all my car friends are like fuck, can we just go for a cruise? And I'm just like, yes, let's do
Well,
this.
the thing is, Melbourne's, for me anyway, it's always been predominantly more creative people, which would act even worse in a lockdown than a whole bunch of corporate people. You know, like Sydney's they got so many corporate people that they have so many nice houses, nice things at home that it's like probably wouldn't be so painful to be in a lockdown. But like the creative people that I've ever met, like all the creative people I've met in Melbourne would be like fucking dying because they
Oh,
need that nature and need to
go to an art show or something. Yeah.
fucking need to can't be locked down.
I've been really lucky, man. Like I get to go to work every day. My staff have been able to come in. We've lived a fairly normal work life, and
Yeah, that's cool.
that's kept me super mental sane.
Yeah.
And I go home and I've like if like the first time in March when we went to lockdown, I spent it with my kid. You know, watching her start to crawl, which was awesome. I didn't get to miss out on that being at work.
That's true with, if you just got a 1-year-old and like
Yeah,
fucking quality family time. I mean, a lot of people are going crazy because of family. It's
yeah.
like too much
I
family
got to
time.
go back to work, so it was probably a good thing to save me and my partner killing ourselves. But
Yeah. I think that's what's driving people crazy is like,
yeah,
you know, people aren't used to spending so much time with the same people or whatever. So,
it's hard. It's hard
mm,
for them. I'm really lucky, so I got nothing to complain about. I go home, I got family life. I go to work, I got a cool crew. The only thing I'm missing is car stuff and catching up with friends and family. But people that live on their own, oh man, I got a friend in Bendigo that's definitely probably had a hard time because he lives on his own in his own house and he hasn't been able to go out and do stuff.
well, I mean, I go out a lot and stuff, but even just doing these Zoom podcasts and stuff, it's been really good for my mental state.
Yeah,
It's
really.
like this technology is available, and I've never thought of using it. But it's like for me, it doesn't feel like doing a podcast, like getting people over my place and setting up all the mics and doing all that shit. It's just like a call.
Yeah.
Zoom is just like it's pretty chill, and like we've never met, and like we've been fucking talking for ages,
Oh
one
shit.
and 1 hour and 45 minutes. So
Oh
it's like,
shit.
but it's
Yeah.
just like that's the thing. It's like I think people who are really fucked up and lonely and shit like that right now because of lockdowns and stuff, like just download Zoom and start calling your mates on Facebook. It's like, fuck,
Yeah.
it's pretty cool shit. Like I think people need to get that shit off their chest and
For
talk
sure.
openly.
It can't hurt. Like I
It can't hurt.
we had friends that we used to catch up in the city all the time. Every Wednesday we do like Korean fried chicken and stuff like that. And
Yeah,
basically over the last few years, a few of us got married and had kids, and we don't really do it anymore because none of us live near the city. It's a bit
yeah,
of a brainer to try and do. And when COVID hit, we're all like, "Why did we stop doing that? Like this sucks now." And so
yeah.
we
It's
we would
it's a
do Zoom
reminder
calls.
almost. Hey,
Yeah, it
like
is.
yeah,
It's a huge reminder. Even one of my staff was saying the other day, like when you can't be fucked and you get invited to something on a Wednesday night, you're like, I can't be bothered. Just like
yeah.
I'll never do that again. I'll never take that for granted again.
Dude, Sydney's exactly that. Sydney's like everyone just feels like they're busy, but I think it's just the pressure of living in a pressure cooker, right? Like the city.
Sure.
So, sometimes when you have nothing on Tuesday night and someone asks you out on Tuesday night, because you've got nothing on, you feel like I want to do nothing.
Yeah.
And so the excuse is like I'm too busy,
I
or
got my
got something to do tomorrow or
yeah.
whatever. And so I always find that like it's better if I organize things on like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and I have those couple of days in between, like a day in between things that I put in the calendar. So because I know some shit's gonna pop up on that day anyway.
Hmm.
So I feel like that whole Sydney thing of packing your calendar, multiple events per day,
Too
fuck,
much.
you're gonna burn out, man.
Yeah.
You're gonna get
Sure.
to that point where you're not, like you said, like catching up with your mates and stuff because you're
Yeah.
too busy. But actually, it's only because you got yourself to blame. Like,
Yeah.
you got to pack that fucking calendar out, man. Like, life is so much longer than that. For me, it's like a week, a month, 3 months. It's like, I'll fucking get around to shit, you know? But it's like,
Yeah,
if you don't watch it, next thing you know, oh, fuck, I haven't caught up with you in 6 months. It's like, yeah, well, there's got no one to blame but yourself, really.
100%. I got some really good friends that are like a good glue. They organize catch ups and want people to hang out, and they've been organizing Zoom chats, every
Yeah.
few weeks or once a month while we've been in lockdown. And kudos to them because, like, I'm kind of shit with that, but
Yeah, me too.
um,
I'm fucking
I
shit
call
with,
people, but I'm not good with catching up all the time. But
yeah, I'm fucked with, I'm lazy.
yeah, yeah, I get lazy. I just want to fucking go home and chill with my kid before she goes to bed. Fuck your thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
But when
no,
you do go out and when you do it, it's fucking awesome, right?
best time always. So
Yeah.
yeah, I guess it's something to take on board, like a bit of moderation, but don't take it for granted because something like this can pop up that fucking changes the whole world. It's
Well, Dan, on that note, mate,
crazy.
like
Got all hit
it's good to meet you, bro. And
guys, man.
I'm just glad. Like I don't think I've been in touch with you before. So just
Yeah,
like I think you must have seen that I posted up something about putting a call out
yeah,
for people to be on the podcast. And
yep, yeah. I followed Zen Garage back in the day. I was a big fan of what you were doing, and
yeah, cool.
got some Zen Garage merch. And
Feels like a lifetime ago. Hey,
yeah, I really was Devo when you closed the shop in Sydney because I wanted to check
oh,
that out so bad.
dude, pretty sure no one's more Devo than me, mate.
Yeah, I bet.
But
I bet. I bet. No doubt. But
yeah.
yeah, no, it's really cool to catch up, and thanks for just being open to chatting someone that you don't know. Like, I really appreciate it, man. It was really fun.
Dude, thank you too. I mean, I don't think everyone's cut out for this kind of shit, you know? So thanks for coming on and being, like you said, like just being open is like, I think it potentially can benefit others. Like I don't think that's like the primary mission, but I mean, if someone can find bits in our podcast that could potentially plant a seed in their brain to actually try something different, especially that stuff with you like just gunning after shit and you know taking life by the jugular at some points in your life.
Yeah,
I think if that can inspire someone to do the same, then I'll feel fucking really good about it. So
that'd be really cool. I'd be really stoked about that because
yeah,
what I don't know. There's no do-overs, you know. You don't want to go. You don't want to go with regrets. Just
dude, yeah. I mean that's a whole nother topic in
yeah.
itself. But
Anyway,
like,
yeah,
holy fuck, like especially if you were young, like at the age that you were at when you first fucking just put yourself out there and asked for a job. I
yeah.
think a lot of people um are at that age and don't think that's possible or don't think that they can do it, you
It's
know. And man, like for you to say you had nothing to lose,
mm,
you know, I think you've got more to lose as a 20-year-old saying something stupid on the internet than you would saying something to someone face to face. Let's
100.
be honest.
Yeah. Okay, it's embarrassing. You feel a bit weird.
Yeah,
You,
but it's one person,
who cares?
right? Yeah, whereas
Get
if you
up,
said something stupid on the internet, that's like thousands of people will fucking laugh at you, right?
becomes a meme.
So yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, let's wrap it up, dude. But like, thanks
Yeah.
for your time.
No, no worries. Thank you, man. It was really cool to chat.
Awesome, man. I'll hit stop recording, but hang on the line, yeah.
Yeah, easy done.
All right, bro.